The white flag is out. One to go for the TNT NASCAR Summer Series. Tonight, it's the LifeLock.com 400, live from Chicagoland Speedway. The weather, a nice 80-degree night. Track temperature, 92 degrees, 48% humidity. We're going racing. We're going to get this one all the way in here in Joliet, Illinois. Hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Shaheen alongside Wally Dahlbach and Kyle Petty. We've got one to go here tonight. Last week, the storyline was all about the checkered flag at Daytona and that thrilling finish with Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart. Tonight, however, Wally, it might be the green flag that's the big story. Teammates on the front row could make the first couple turns pretty interesting.
Ralph, the first lap's going to be pretty interesting because I don't think those guys on the front row really care for each other, so it should be a lot of fun to see what happens there. But one thing about this racetrack is they will be able to race hard going into 1 and 2. Years past, this place was tough. It didn't have a lot of grooves, and it was very slippery. But the track is weathered. There's a lot of grooves. I think you'll see these cars fan out right away. But this, Kyle, this track's a little bit different setup-wise as far as the night race goes on some of the races that we see that go in from start day into night.
Yeah, like you said, they're going to be chasing the 83 and the 82 into that first corner. But I'm going to tell you something. One thing they're not going to be chasing here like they do at places like Charlotte, where we start in the day and we go into the night, is chase the racetrack as bad. There are going to be some changes to the racetrack. But the difference between Charlotte during the daytime and Charlotte at night is drastic. Here, it's very subtle. So the guy who runs good at the first of this race has a great chance of running good at the last of this race.
All right, well, the cars are rolling. Let's take a look at our Miller Lite starting grid. Taking a look at the front row, there's those teammates. It's a fifth pole for Ryan Vickers. The first time the two Red Bull cars have started in the top 5. Row number 2 is where we find Jimmy Johnson and Denny Hamlin. Jimmy Johnson's ever won here. Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer. Last year's winner, of course, Kyle Busch. Jeff Gordon won here back in 2006. Behind them, David Rudiman and Marcus Ambrose. Kyle, let's see if we can talk to one of our drivers out there tonight.
Scott Speed, this is Kyle Petty in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, great qualifying run. You're at the sharp end of the queue here this week, and this team seems to be getting better and better and better. Is this qualifying effort and the way you guys have unloaded here at Chicago indications of how you think the rest of the year is going to go for you guys?
Well, honestly, I think the last 3 weekends in general have been a lot better. You know, we start working a lot closer with the 83. You know, the stuff that I'm saying is becoming a lot more similar to what they're saying. So overall, everything is getting closer and better, kind of as we expected.
All right, man. Well, do the best you can. We'll be watching you up here and talking about you on TV, all right?
All right, thanks, bud.
Just before we go green, let's check in with Larry McReynolds.
In our Countdown to Green show, we talked about the guys that are outside the top 12 looking in. Now, there's one team sitting back in 17th. They can still see the top 12 out there, but the biggest thing, they have had one fast race car ever since they unloaded Thursday morning. In fact, they annihilated the field in qualifying, and Matt Yoakum, even though they've got their eye on that top 12, I think the #1 agenda tonight is seal the deal and get that first win for Red Bull Racing.
Absolutely, and Ryan Pepper and the crew chief on the 83. So many different agendas tonight with this team, but the most important is to seal the deal, capitalize on that great run in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to capitalize on one of these. We've had really good race cars this year and haven't been able to, put one away. Charlotte's, Atlanta's, Darlington's. We felt like we had the car to beat at some of those races, and we just couldn't quite do it. So we got a really good race car tonight. The track's going to change a lot, and if we keep up with it, I believe we'll have a shot at it tonight.
Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
In the 4 previous races where he scored the pole, twice he finished in the top 10. Ralph?
All right, Matt, thank you. Take a look at tonight's race analysis. 267 laps will make up the 400 miles here. Pit road speed is 45 miles an hour. Pit window about 54 to 58 laps.
Yeah, and it's going to be, we'll see how things develop, but this racetrack doesn't seem to be eating up tires here. And I think that's going to be a part of the story, I think, tonight, later on as the race goes on, if these guys take 2 or fuel only or whatever.
Yeah, and last night we saw in the Busch race, Kyle Busch took 2. Logano took nothing, stayed out, kept track position. We heard Jeff Gordon comment on that in our pre-race show. That shows all these guys sat in the trucks and watched last night. And even though they've talked about tire drop-off, obviously the tire is still a good tire, and you can still go fast on it towards the end.
Because at the end of the day, track position is still key at this place.
Track position is key everywhere.
Yeah, it is anymore. You're right.
That's what Jeff said. Jeff said track position is king, and no matter where you go, it doesn't make any difference. Short tracks, Talladega, Daytona, short track or track position is where you want.
Well, that first corner is going to get pretty interesting pretty quick here.
Well, maybe I was playing it up a little bit. I don't know, but I just, there's a little bit of friction there, and the guy on the outside, I think he's got, feels like he's got a little bit to prove. And
well, just remember this: Scott Speed comes from the Formula One world, and in Formula One, the #1 guy you want to beat is your teammate.
Right? They're not worried about any of these other cars in the field right now.
Right now,
they're worried about
each other. Right now, all we're worried about is a green flag. Glad to have you with us as we're green from Chicagoland. Well, Vickers just put him away with the great jump on that one, didn't he, right away?
I think completely forgot about the 48. He had other things in mind. I think he wants to get up there, and once he clears speed, he's going to set sights on the leader. And his car has been awfully good ever since they've unloaded here in Chicago. I mean, the 48 car, everybody's been talking about how good it is and how good it is on tires on long runs. Hey, the 11 car did not seem to get a very good start. He didn't get going right at the drop of the green flag, and he's already lost a couple of spots, so it looks like his car is not coming in as quick as he'd like.
But we talked to Scott Speed on the start there because we thought something was going to happen when they got there a little bit. But he did a great job, man. He gave Jimmy plenty of room on those first 2 laps and raced hard on the outside there.
There's Boyer on the 33 getting inside as they fight over third. Gets around Speed. Here comes Jeff Gordon as well.
And I'm going to say something. One thing that's happening to these guys like Boyer and Jeff Gordon and these guys that are close to Scott Speed, they're not used to racing with Scott Speed. And Scott Speed's not used to racing with them either. So when you're in this position this early in the race, you want to give each other plenty of room. You see these guys, Scott's giving them plenty of room, but they're giving him plenty of room and being a little bit more tentative around him than what they would be if they were racing against somebody they're used to racing with. Not that they're uncomfortable with racing against, but that they're used to racing with.
Kyle Busch inside of David Rudiman. Whoa, look at the 18 of Busch getting a little loose through there as he's still side by side with him, getting awful close.
Yeah, the 18 looks like it's already got a donut up there on the door on the right side a little bit.
And you saw him go up on the 00 Rudiman. Did you see when he pulled up and kind of almost ran him up the racetrack? You almost want to do that to a guy so you get him off his line a little bit, getting into turn 1. You're just looking for a tiny advantage to try to get your car up a side. And if you run a guy up high and you hold him up just 1 second longer before he can turn down in the corner, it breaks his rhythm and you can take the spot.
Let's take a look at that contact. Now we're watching Kyle Busch in the 18 with Rudiman.
He just pushes up into him a little bit. But just as Wally says, you see the tire mark right there, but just as Wally says, we talked about this in pre-race. This is a round racetrack. They really don't run straight down the straightaway anywhere. And they're constantly in a corner. And I know there's no marks on the racetrack, but there's places where guys have spun. There's places where cars bottom out. You pick your marks. And when you want to arc this thing in the corner, if a guy can force you out of your line just a little bit, you're just so tentative getting down in the corner. It's like, oh, I'm 2 foot higher than where I need to be. So I'm not going to go down here in this corner this hard this time.
Back to the front in a battle for the lead
48
developing.
Cars awfully loose. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of cars that look loose right now, which I was a little bit surprised on this early how loose these cars look.
The 83 up front, Matt.
And Ralph, when you listen to Brian Vickers on the radio, he just reported to his team the car's a little bit tight in the center, but We've seen the trend this weekend where the tires start to give up after about 10 laps, but he is really screaming down the straightaway on entering the corner. You can really hear him hard on the rev chip, but that'll go away as the time starts to go away with the tires.
Well, yeah, it will a little bit with the tires, Matt, but also if this track cools, when it cools down, if you're going to pick up some RPMs actually, because this track is going to get a little bit faster.
Yeah, you know, you get into that at Charlotte sometimes. When the racetrack is hot and slick, you're not on the chip. You're not turning 96, 9,700 RPMs, whatever these cars turn at this point in time, but you're not right there at it. As the track cools down and the track speed picks up 0.4 of a second, 0.5 of a second, then you start wearing that chip out.
Now you can throw the other box and have a different chip.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
So as the track changes, sometimes you got 2 ignition boxes in here, and you can put regular chips in there, so you can change your chip. So as the track changes, and you need more, you need those RPMs, you could change a box, and it'll be on a different RPM.
See,
chip.
I never knew that. My guys just put an extra box in case I had did something stupid and knocked the first one out.
Here comes Jimmy
handed
Johnson.
you a bag of chips.
That was a bag of chips for me. I'm sorry, man. That was just me.
Oh, Johnson takes the lead, but look at how loose he was right after he goes by.
But he got a great run. You saw him when he took the lead.
New leader, 48.
That's Jimmy. New leader, 48. That was a good call. That's on TNT from the cockpit right there.
Now we can just get him to toss the brake for us because that's where we're going. But we'll be right back. More racing from Chicagoland coming up. Welcome back to Chicagoland. Up front, it's Jimmy Johnson. Taking the lead just a few laps ago away from Brian Vickers, who started on the pole. On board, here's tonight's Aflac Trivia question. What 2 drivers have the most wins with 14 on 1.5-mile tracks?
What 2 drivers have the most?
And the most wins, 14
Jeff Gordon's one of them. I don't know who the other
1.5-mile tracks. And the answer is you were right with one of those, Wally. Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt. Chicagoland, of course, a 1.5-mile track. Mark Martin in the 5, getting around the 18.
Mark giving a wave. Now look, just want everybody to look at the shield. It's a dark shield. Obviously, we're going into a race that's going to get dark here, but these guys have dark tear-offs. There's a clear shield underneath that tear-off. And right now, the sun is pretty brutal going down into turn 3. It's really, really tough to see going down there. Where you're driving in there and you go blind for a second or 2. That's how bad the sun is.
If you guys watch as we see some of this, and especially you see the front stretch right here as we're watching the 5 car, it's shaded. Okay, as they come down the front stretch and as they dump off into turn 1, now they're back in the sun. The sun's behind them. As they come back off of 2 over there and start down the backstretch, it's right about where the signs start down the backstretch is where the shade starts into turn 3. But as the sun goes down, it eases its way down the backstretch. And you're right. You get to a place where, where's my mark? I can't see where my mark is. I don't know where I'm at on the racetrack. And it's only for a split second. But I'm going to tell you something. When you're racing with somebody, that's a long split second.
Mark Martin takes over 7th position now as he gets inside of Bill Elliott.
But how about Bill Elliott? I mean, qualifies good here. Yeah. These guys have been off for 2 or 3 weeks. The Wood brothers, they set out Daytona. They set out a couple of races. And this is their first race in probably 2 or 3 weeks that we've seen them. So obviously they came to race this week, man.
Qualified 8th.
Get 2 times.
Now you see Denny Hamlin. He started with the clear. Decided that he would just squint for a while.
Denny Hamlin right now, Marty, running 6th.
Yeah, and not very happy behind the wheel. Earlier this weekend in qualifying, they had a problem with the water gauge. They said 300 when he got done with his qualifying lap. Clearly, the water was not 300. Then he goes 2 laps into the race today. Guess what? The water gauge says 300 again. The water is not a problem, but that's going to be a distraction for Denny all day long. So I was going to ask you drivers, how much of a distraction is that? And is it really important that he knows what the water temperature is?
Somebody fixed that for me one time during a pit stop. They took a piece of duct tape and they covered the gauge. And it was a distraction no longer.
And it's a distraction no longer. And that's exactly right. The reason it's a distraction is because you look at all the gauges. You scan them like a pilot scans his gauges. And you want the needles or you want the numbers to be in a range. And when they're outside that range, it constantly bothers you. Whether it's true or false, it just constantly bothers you. Best thing to do is, like Wally said, put a piece of tape over it and try it and pay no attention to it because you're going to look at it.
Larry, is that how you dealt with it, Larry?
Well, no, not really, because that water temperature gauge is pretty important from a performance standpoint, because as we get into the nighttime and this track cools down, those crew chiefs, Mike Ford in particular, for Denny Hamlin, he wants to know how cool or how hot the water is, because I'm sure when we get to those race pit stops, he'd love to throw a piece of tape on that nose to help the drag on the straightaways and help that car to turn. So these things, a lot of them are running these electric gauges, and they're great in one aspect, but if they do have a problem, they can sure throw you a curveball.
But Larry, I think the point is, don't you think there's something wrong with the gauge, or do you actually think it's run 300 degrees?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
It is a gauge problem, but it's going to be impossible for Denny to tell Mike how cool or how hot the water's running.
Exactly.
One driver not having too many problems right now is Tony Stewart. He's gained 13 positions. He's up to 17th. We'll be right back. Jimmy Johnson ranks second all-time on the win list with 13 mile-and-a-half racetracks. He's leading here tonight at Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet. There he is out front. We're going to take you through the field, kicking things off with Matt Yoakum.
And Ralph, Jimmy Johnson out front, yarding the competition. About a 5-second lead over the 83 of Brian Vickers. Jimmy already looking ahead to later in this event when the sun goes down. He says the car is free on entry and snappy loose on exit. 1 and 2, the car is absolutely awesome, but he can start to pick up a little bit of tightness in the center of the corner that could be a problem later. Meanwhile, Brian Vickers, who spent this past week NASCAR night at Victory Junction Gang, he and the 83 team did a number of things with the campers looking for a win here with Red Bull. He says the car is tight. He's already looking at what adjustments they want to make on their first stop, Lindsay.
Matt Click Boyer right behind him. Right now, pretty happy. They did make a big adjustment during practice. They raised the truck arm because they were trying to loosen him up. Felt like he was too overloaded on the back end. So now he feels comfortable trying to find his rhythm, trying to find his line, Marty.
Lindsay, when I talked to Mark Martin before he climbed in the car, he described his car as spectacular. And he has already picked up 10 spots from 14th to 4th. By far the fastest car on the track right now is Mark Martin. And get a load of what he said on the radio. He said, I'm going to take it easy on this run on the right front. His car was a little too tight, so he wanted to take it easy. He's gained 10 spots, Matt.
The second Red Bull car, Scott Speed, he is dropped from second down to 5th, just riding. You heard him tell you earlier on the team radio that they just want to have a solid run tonight, trying to learn each and every week, trying to capitalize on what was a great outside front row start, Marty.
Steve Letarte just told Jeff Gordon on the radio, Matt, they're about 20 laps from the stop. Around lap 51 is when they will stop for Jeff Gordon. Car getting progressively tighter for Gordon out there in that black and silver car this weekend. A little bit too tight on this run. Behind him, Denny Hamlin. He called the guys and said the chassis a little bit too tight right now for Denny. He said we've never really qualified that well. So to start 4th today, you know the car is pretty good. They expect to be good in this portion of the run. The longer they go, the better this 11 car tends to get. Dale Earnhardt Jr. having a terrific run. Yesterday was horrible for Dale Earnhardt Jr., but he said the car is a little bit tight in 1 and 2, good in 3 and 4. He said right now the sun absolutely killing him. He's picked a spot on the wall. That's where he lifts every time, Lindsay.
Marty, Bill Elliott right behind him has slipped 1 spot back to 9th. I talked to him this afternoon, and he said he accidentally showed up a bit early because he's staying at a hotel here in Chicago. He said he showed up around noon, got to hang out around the track, talk to some guys. Very thrilled with his car. However, he says it does get tighter now as the laps add up. Adam.
And Lindsay, perhaps that's the reason why Kyle Busch has gone to the outside of Elliott. Busch tight at both ends of the racetrack in the early going. He did notice on the early run Jimmy Johnson gaining ground on other drivers, so that had him ask a question to his crew chief.
Just tell me how the 48 passed him. Where does he gain his ground? Like, how does he follow people? Right now I'm at the mercy of the car that's in front of me. I can't gain anything.
He's hooking the white line. He follows them in 6th, And then when that 83 kind of comes up, you know, half a car length off the bottom, he's able to hook the white line. That's all.
And Busch came on the radio just about 5 laps ago and said, watch that 5 car. He is hooking the bottom of the racetrack. Busch from 6th to 9th early, Larry McReynolds, and frustrated behind the wheel.
Well, Adam, I talked in the pre-race show about I felt like it was going to be a night of comers and goers, and Ralph's already pointed out our points leader, Tony Stewart, started back in 32nd. He's moved to 16th, but another guy that has made some move is Kurt Busch in his 2 car, started back in the 22nd position. He has now moved up to the 14th position, and I know listening to them last night in practice, they were not happy with that car. Wholesale changes even this morning before going through inspection.
Saw Boyer move to 2nd. Joe Nemechek, Dave Blaney, and David Gilliland are all in the garage area with 37 of the 267 laps completed here as TNT's coverage from Chicago is presented by Papa John's. We'll be back for more. We're back. The caution is out, the first one of the night. Debris on the racetrack. It was a spring rubber. Here they come, Lindsay.
Ralph, Clint Boyer's crew chief Shane Wilson told me he learned a lot watching that nationwide race last night. Right now, Clint Boyer said that his car's a little bit tight, but also pretty loose. He's losing the nose a little bit. They're going to give him 4 fresh tires. No adjustments, Marty.
Mark Martin's only words to his crew, wow, what a terrific run on the first run of the night for Mark. From 14th to 3rd, he said no changes on the stop and 4 tires, Matt.
The issues on the right side of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson's team. Picking up, though, not missing a beat. Going to work on the left side. His car just a tick on the free side. Meanwhile, the 83 of Brian Vickers on the bottom of your screen. They were talking about a track bar and pulling a spring rubber, or pushing a spring rubber in, actually, trying to get his race car to free up. It was just too snug.
Not only is Martin's car good, but apparently his crew's pretty strong too, because they got him out first. Casey Mears is going to get the free pass in the 07. We'll be back for the restart. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. Pit road action was pretty good. Mark Martin had a great stop. A couple other guys not so good, beginning with the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Watch the jack man here, Wally.
Yeah, they come in. He gets the jack underneath it. Then it falls off. By the time he gets back in and back up, he lost 6 spots. When I saw he came out and lost 6 spots, I thought, well, maybe they did a spring rubber change or something.
Problems for the 21 too here, Kyle. This is one of those things, I guess, when you don't run every weekend, these are the kinds of problems you can have.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, this is, look where they're at. They're the last car in line. What happens on a lot of pit stops and a lot of people, they help each other. So there's somebody behind you. When your tire takes off, how many times do we see another team catch a guy's tire? There's nobody behind the 21 on pit road, so when his tire starts off, there's nobody there. There's no official, there's no team there to help him, so that's just a bad deal.
So he goes to the tail end of the field. He'll have company with Greg Biffle, who was too fast exiting pit lane, so Greg goes to the tail end of the field as well.
Based on what I saw there right before that caution came out, a lot of these guys had to make a lot of adjustments to even be in the same ballpark as that 5 car, because Mark Martin was by fast the fastest car. He was going to run the leader down and lead this thing if it went green. So there's a lot of homework, a lot of changes that need to be done on some of these guys in order to run with Mark.
And on the first stop, I'm going to give a tip of the hat to Scott Speed's pit crew. He was running 4th or 5th. He comes out running 5th or 6th. A lot of times you get a car that runs not used to running up there. At least they're up there. They kept them up there.
Here's our Toyota driver update as we go back to green. Brian Vickers in 2nd. Hamlin and Busch also in the top 5.
Yeah, Scott Speed up on the high side. He's got no grip up there. And boy, he is stacking them up behind him right now.
Sorensen trying to get through the middle in the 43. Junior's back there. He was 6th before the pits. He's 13th after it in the 88.
Speed went from 6th to 15th in that lap. And he's still falling. He's not done yet.
And he just had contact with Junior, too, and that's what shoved him way up the racetrack. Marty, how bad was that pit stop on the 88?
Well, they had a little bit of trouble, but it wasn't horrible. There were a lot of other good pit stops on pit road. As you mentioned, Ralph, N6 out 13th for Dale Earnhardt Jr. The car was really tight. Junior said that's okay. Very positive on the radio. Told the guys we'll get him on the next stop because he has a very fast car. A lot different than yesterday. Junior's pretty happy behind the wheel.
He wasn't happy coming out of turn 4 right there because that thing went into a 4-wheel slide. But, you know, one thing that happens on the first pit stop, especially at a place like this, everybody's still on the lead lap. Pit road is incredibly, pass for third right here, incredibly busy, man. You can't get in and get out. So it's not necessarily the pit crew's fault when you lose time. You get hung in the pits sometimes.
Boyer in the bottom of that 33, sitting in 4th, battling with Johnson and Gordon. Boy, the Richard Childress Racing Team could really use some good luck.
Yeah, and you know, Harvick always runs good here. You know, he won the first couple of races here. This was a place that they thought they could come to, and it was good to see Boyer. You know, he had worked himself into second right before we had the debris caution right there. So he's running pretty solid. The other guys, they're struggling a little bit, but I think they're hoping that the racetrack changes and comes to them a little bit, even though, as I said in the opener, this racetrack's not going to change drastically.
Well, here's a NASCAR.com asked to boost. So what is wrong with Richard Childress Racing this year?
If we knew we'd be working for RCR.
Yeah. Okay. And you know, we've talked about this 2 or 3 times, and I talked to a lot of the guys over there. I think they really focused on their speedway stuff. We talked about it last week, and they had great runs last week going. You know, Jeff Burton had a great run going. The 29 car had a pretty decent run going. The 33 of Boyer had a good run going. Casey got in trouble early, but they had really worked on their speedway stuff, and I think they felt like they got behind on their 1.5 and 2-mile racetrack stuff. They've tried really hard to catch up. I know those guys are working 10-hour days, 15-hour days trying to get back on track, and it's good to see Boyer be able to run and take that team and be able to run a little bit better.
And don't forget, it's not this year. That car was running awfully strong the first part of the season, and these guys he was sitting, what, second in points, third in points for a long time, so you can't look at the whole year. These guys were strong at the beginning of the year.
But, you know, and Wally, you know this, when you get behind, you can't catch up during the season. You're just maintaining during the season. It is so hard. These guys work so hard during the wintertime to get
you there. Might learn here. 15 car lanes.
And that's Dylan, his spotter, talking to him. Might come to you. He's either talking about the track or talking about the guy in front of him. I don't know really what he's talking about. But, you know, it's so hard when you get behind and you're focused on one part of your game and you lose sight of the other part of your game. Sometimes the season starts and you can't get caught up.
Clint said they used to put a lot of focus on this race because he would almost use this as a test session for the Kansas track, which is his home race, and he always wants to do so well there. So now it's time we need to just start focusing on Chicago as the race itself, not worry about Kansas.
Yeah, because when you start and you're not running the way you want to run, you focus on every race. You don't throw away any races. You don't look at it and say, yeah, this is a test session. You know, so many times you hear people say, well, Jimmy Johnson's testing himself to get ready for the chase, or these guys are testing. These guys are running hard right now, you know what I mean? And especially these guys that are trying to catch the Johnson teams and the Gordon teams and teams like that.
Hamlin, Kane, Kyle Busch, that's 6, 7, and 8 right there. Casey involved in that wild finish at Daytona last year, getting right up the backside of Kyle Busch as they came to the checkered flag. And Wally, you and I were talking about this earlier today. I thought it was pretty interesting. Casey commented on how a lot of people thought he might have gotten a good look at the bottom side of Kyle's car, and he said, in reality, I was looking more at my knees than the other side of the car because of how far you go forward when you get hit like that.
That was quite a shot. I mean, you know, you could figure that he, like you said, his head was looking down and probably had his eyes shut, too. I mean, on the crash like that, pretty much grinning and bearing it.
Casey now up to 6 as he works his way around Hamlin. Moving up into the points, too, and boy, that's so important as we draw closer and closer to the chase. And you go from 12th to 9th, a lot more comfort in there. Here's Kyle Busch.
Well, at least he's going in the right direction, or trying to go in the right direction. It looks like these guys made some adjustment on this car that has helped him quite a bit.
Stewart sitting in ninth, Matt.
Ralphie is really on the move. Started the night back in the 25th position, but you heard the confidence earlier tonight on our pre-race show. He knew he had a great race car, showcasing that during practice. He says the car, balance-wise, is awesome. Slight air pressure change just to try to work a little more in the direction that he wanted to go. Try to tighten the car up just a tick. Alan? Adam?
And for Kyle Busch, who is running in this mix of cars, he picked up 3 positions on pit road. That's the good news. The bad news, they adjusted a tight condition with air pressure and wedge, and now he says he is loose all over. To quote him, he said, "I'm wrecking," and that's the reason you see a parade of race cars going by, including Tony Stewart. Busch's crew chief, Steve Addington, said, just take care of your race car.
Yeah, what a difference a year makes for Kyle Busch. Last year, he led the first 43 laps of this race, a total of 165 on his way to the victory last year. As Tony Stewart, however, continues to charge through the field. 22 positions gained for him right now as he breaks into the top 10. Mark Martin still at the point of the field. He's the one racking up all the laps led here tonight. Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Vickers, Boyer, and Gordon giving chase. Fans want more TNT coverage? The Coke Zero in-car camera on Race Buddy lets you vote for and ride shotgun with Coca-Cola Racing family drivers. Check out the Coke Zero in-car camera on NASCAR.com's Race Buddy. Cast your vote now. There you see the 18 at Kyle Busch.
All right, maybe they didn't make the right adjustments like I said before. I take that back.
Where's he at? Here he is.
There's brother underneath him. He says, "Hey, Kurt, watch this."
Oh, my.
Whoa. Good, it was a nice job of hanging on. I mean, he didn't hit it really that hard. I think he could be.
Well, listen to that. Sounded good,
pretty hard.
That sounded good. You heard the way he played with the throttle.
Adam, how hard is he saying he hit?
He has been very frustrated on the radio, Ralph, so you can imagine the kind of conversations going back and forth. Steve Addington, as crew chief, has stayed very calm, but there is no doubt about it. The 18 car tonight, a long way from the handle they had on this race a year ago when they led 165 laps and went to victory lane.
Steve Addington deserves some kind of an award at the banquet at the end of the year, don't you think? You're a Saint award or something?
Yeah. Every guy I ever worked with probably deserved that same award because I got a little crazy on it. But I tell you what, when you see that type of thing, it doesn't seem like a hard hit. But what he did is that thing floated up next to the wall. When it kind of weaved a couple of times from the right rear hit it can knock the rear end as far as a quarter or a half inch to the left. Bends the track bar. This throws the entire alignment out on this car. And this thing will be a wicked thing to drive when that starts happening. And you can't adjust that on pit road. You've adjusted yourself right out of the race when stuff like that happens.
And did the crush panels come out as easy on these cars as it does the older cars?
Yeah, I think they do, according to him. When because he said they definitely knock the crush panels out. And then you start breathing carbon monoxide. Yeah. Then you start hallucinating. Then you start cussing everybody. That's the way it works.
Well, the cussing came early.
Yeah, the cussing came early.
Hallucinate. And
hallucinations are next, right? No hallucinations up front. That picture is as clear as it can get from Mark Martin, Marty.
Nor any cussing, I'll tell you that, coming from the 5 car. Mark Martin is effusive about this race car. So happy with it. Listen to what he had to say to Alan Gustafson, his crew chief.
Okay, this baby feels so good on the bottom. They're going to have to beat me up there where I'll even look. It's unbelievable. I'm starting to save a little gas now. Oh, this is easy, bud. I'm just, I'd like to know what you're thinking. If you ever decide you want me to put the hammer down, I'll pull on out.
This is easy praise you don't hear very often from Mark Martin. In fact, after that, came on the radio, said, I want to show you guys what it would do for a couple laps. I've backed down now. I'm going to run what I have to run here, but it was pretty impressive. He picked up about a tenth and a half when he decided to show him what it actually would do. This 5 car, about as good as it gets.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, Marty, unless these guys made a lot of adjustments on some of their cars to catch Mark, his car is just on a rail right now. You know, and we bring this up again, but if you look at his elbow when he gets in the corner. He's got an elbow pad right there. The way you drive these cars, a lot of guys, I used to do the same thing. You actually use your elbow on the steering wheel, and when you're in the corner, it actually your elbow leans into the steering wheel when you're in the corner. And it also gives you leverage when you're turning the car. So it's not so much, you're using your shoulder and your whole body when you turn the car. That's why he's got that elbow pad on there, because it's going to be rubbing on that steering wheel all night long.
It's got to be nice as a crew chief, Larry, to hear your driver that thrilled with the handling of the car this early in the race.
Well, it is, Ralph, but I watched these guys yesterday in those 2 practice sessions, and Mark Martin and Alan Gustafson, they knew they had a good race car, but they were so careful at their approach, because I think what everybody was anticipating is the first practice from 4 to 4:45, the sun would be out and the track wouldn't have a lot of grip. Everybody was putting a lot of stock in that 5:20 to 6:20 practice. Well, it was reversed. It was very cloudy and overcast during 4 to 4:45. So what the 5 car and Alan Gustafson and Mark Martin did from 5:20 to 6:20, they pretty much set most of that practice out until it got overcast again. They didn't want to, and you know it, Kyle and Wally, they didn't want to chase the racetrack, something we wouldn't have tonight to race on.
This is the only active track that Mark Martin has not scored a top 5 on. His best finish here, 6th, back in 2001. TT's coverage from Chicago, presented by Papa John's, will continue right after these words. And you see Mark Martin hitting the 5, getting inside of Michael Waltrip. Let's take it back through the field one more time. Let's kick things off with Marty Snyder.
Mark Martin picking his way through lap traffic, Ralph, as you mentioned, trying to get around Michael Waltrip right now. Still the fastest car on the track. They are keeping an eye on the 48 car, though, way behind him, saying they're beating him off of 2, or Jimmy's beating him off of 2 just a little bit. Mark, obviously, nothing to complain about right now, Matt.
And his teammate Jimmy Johnson just recovering from that issue on pit road with the jack. He has climbed all the way up to 2nd. The only comment he's really made about the race car, it's good, but it's starting to get a little bit tight. Meanwhile, the 83 of Brian Vickers, who has settled in 3rd, he restarted 2nd. His car, free on entry, tight in the center. He's just forecasting trends, looking ahead to what he will need in about another 75 laps in this race car, balance-wise. And Casey Kane, the Dodge boys, he's climbed up to 4th. Rim riding much of this event now, climbing up to that real high line. The car was tight on the first stop. They made a track bar adjustment, and it's really come to life. Lindsay?
Matt, Clint Boyer loves the low line, but he just came over the radio, said you got to make it tighter through the middle. Clint is the only RCR driver to have a win last week in the nationwide race at Daytona. He knows he cannot duplicate that today if he doesn't find better balance, Marty.
At the beginning of this run, Jeff Gordon said he could run hard for about 2 laps, and the car just goes away on the last stop. A host of changes, pulling a spring rubber from the left rear spring and also going up on the track bar, all in an effort to make that car a little bit looser. It has gotten better, but not keeping up with his teammate Mark Martin. Denny Hamlin behind him said his car is a little bit tight. Mike Ford just radioed him about 20 laps from the stop for Denny Hamlin, who went to Daytona last week. He had never finished in the top 10. He finished 3rd there. He's never finished in the top 10 here at Chicagoland, hoping to change that tonight too, Matt.
Carl Edwards, Marty, started the night 5th in the championship standings. The highest, though, without a series victory in 2009. Trying to change that, looking ahead. Bonus points, big bonus points for later in the season when the chase begins. The car, a tick on the tight side. Back on lap 53, Adam, he climbed into the top 10. Currently, he's 8th.
The guy on the move, Matt. He started 32nd. He has worked his way up to 9th in the running order. He said it's still a little tight in the center, not terrible, good in and off. They told Tony the track has cooled off about 5 degrees in the last 20 laps and asked him if it has had an impact on the grip. Tony said it has not, Matt.
And Kurt Busch reporting to Pat Triton, he just climbed into the top 10. He said the car was dynamite on the first few laps after that first pit stop, but now it's absolutely dead sideways. They made an air pressure change trying to fix the snug in the center of the corner, but now the car has gone completely opposite, Lindsay. It's loose.
Well, Matt, David Ruderman not too happy about his car as he just fell back 1 spot. He told me today his car was dancing on both sides of decent. The team had an issue with the splitter brace on the final practice, so they only got 1 good lap in. Right now, he wants to turn better in the center. Ralph?
You know, Lindsay, Marcus Ambrose is up to 16th in the 47. He happens to be tonight's UPS Maximum driver. He's finished in the top 10 in 3 of the last 5 races. This race season, look for David Reagan to take on the delivery drivers of UPS in Maximum Driver. There goes
Wow,
the 82
look
down
at
the lap.
that.
Remember, he started on the front row. And Mark Martin blasts right by him as he continues to lead here tonight. We'll be right back with more coverage from Chicagoland. Fans Off Track with Tony Stewart, presented by Armor All, is an exclusive video series that puts you behind the scenes with racing superstar Tony Stewart. To watch now, go to NASCAR.com/ArmorAll. So we're on board with Tony right now. Look at the eyes.
Yep, looking way around the corner.
99 and 11 battling here, Hamlin and Edwards.
For 7th spot. Jeff Gordon sitting right there ahead of him at 6th.
How about the 99, Matt?
He just told Bob Osborne about 3 laps ago the track has really started to change, so much so he wants to back off a little bit on the air pressure change that they were going to make on their next stop, which should take place in about another 10 laps or so. He said the track has changed so much, I want to go about half because the car still needs to be freed up just a tick.
Carl Edwards had won 5 of the 10 mile-and-a-half races last season. In fact, he got 3 of those in the chase. Now this year, 18 races, I should say, since his last win at Homestead a year ago.
Yeah, but I mean, these guys they've run good enough to win races. He's going to win races this year. I mean, these guys keep putting themselves into contention. They just have not had some very good luck.
Yeah, he's gotten, you know, we were talking to him down on the rig earlier. They feel like over the last 6 or 7 races, they're just ticking away at it. They're just a little bit less than what they need to be. But they feel like once they break through, I think he feels like he's going to have that type of season that he had last year.
Carl's never won here as he gets around Gordon. That'll move him up to 6th.
I don't think a Ford has ever won at this racetrack.
No.
Which is amazing.
No. This guy's had his hands full all day today. Smacking the wall here. Battling with Montoya and doing everything he can in a 4-wheel drift to keep it going straight.
Whoa!
You're not supposed to be turning that way when the track.
Wow.
I hope that was a precaution.
That was a huge turn to the right.
Here's what he said about it.
There's no point in tightening it up because the car doesn't turn.
We can get the right side track bar down, just get some wedge out of it. Try to get the back in the racetrack.
You're right, man. We got 200 laps here. We got to get it finished.
Larry, the right side of this race car looks much different than the left side.
Well, Ralph, one thing we heard him say is it knocked the crush panels out of the right side. And I'm down here at my torque car. What the crush panel is you have the steel part of the race car. But what the teams do to fill up the gap between that and the edge of this quarter panel is they have these aluminum panels that are populated to the steel, and then they go in here and they will seal this to the body itself. And what happened when he smacked the wall, it bent this crush panel out of the way, and there's really not a whole lot you can do for that. Now, you have crush panels, right front, right rear, left front, left rear. But, guys, I continue to say one thing that really helps this new car ever since we've been racing it is when you do smack the wall, you have this energy-absorbent foam that takes a lot of the slack away, where before, the old car, there was nothing in there between the body and this part.
And Larry, when you're looking at that crush panel, it actually seals the car from a lot of the exhaust coming back inside the driver's compartment.
Well, that's the biggest fear, Wally, and we've seen it, especially with it happening that early in the race. It's going to let a fumes up in a lot in there, but it's just not a whole lot you can do. You can't tape it back in. Tape would never stay there.
Yeah, and you know, the one thing that's happened, it's the right side of the car. And NASCAR mandates we run the pipes out of the right side of this car, of the COT. Used to, you could run them out both sides. You run them out the left side. So where he's got into the wall with that crush panel, it just sucks it back up in. The way the air flows over the car, it flows up in the car right in that wheel well opening.
Green flag pit stops underway, Marty.
Yeah, getting cranked up here, Ralph. Jeff Gordon said his car extremely tight, so they're going to go up on the track bar, trying to get this car to loosen up just a little bit, Matt.
Carl Edwards in. Team going to work on the left side. Slight air pressure change for him. They're just trying to free up that race car just a tick tight in the center of the corner. Marty?
Big debate for our leader, Mark Martin, clearly with the dominant car, but do you make changes to it? Mark said the track is changing. Alan Gustafson said, let's make a very slight change to it, a wedge adjustment, trying to get that car and keep up with the track more than anything, Matt.
Jimmy Johnson in, hit pit road in the 3rd position. Significant track bar change by Mike Knauer, the catch can man. Solid stop going on so far. Left side's on, clean the grill. He's away.
They went 50 green flag laps since the last round of pit stops, which took place under caution. Here comes Stewart, Matt.
Adam, the point leader is in route. Tony Stewart say I need to turn a little bit better in the center. A slight adjustment for tires and fuel. He was able to stay out a good bit of time. That means good fuel mileage for that bunch. Lap 95 is when he gets his green flag service.
Well, his crew was absolutely stellar a week ago and turning in some pretty good stops here again tonight. Mark Martin back to the front. How nervous would you be about them making that a little bit of an adjustment?
I think as good as his car is and as good as he says it is, and you hear it in his voice, you don't know which way to go. So what kind of adjustment do you make? If I'm that close, do I want it a little snugger, a little looser? Which way do I think the track? So sometimes when you're that good, you'll think that what happens is you'll let the car go ahead and let the racetrack change, and then you'll adjust after the racetrack changes because he's good enough. It's not going to change drastically and take him out of sequence here.
Here comes Jeff Burton, Marty.
Actually, there he goes, Ralph, and it was an eternity of a pit stop for Jeff Burton. The car fell off the Jack Burton, who was running in the top 15, going down a lap here midway through this race.
Some other guys have had some problems on pit road tonight. We've documented some of them. Jeff Gordon having some as well. Stalled it, Wally.
Yeah, and that's a problem. You know, it doesn't look like much, maybe, what, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, but under green, that's a lot. Guys are averaging 170, 69, 170 miles per hour. So when you make a little bit of a mistake like that on pit road, it's costly once you get back out on the racetrack. You lose a lot of ground.
Larry talked about that in the live show earlier today. That, whoa, Matt Kenseth. Didn't talk about that in the live show. Boy, the rear end of that car came all the way around, smacking the wall. Matt keeps his foot buried in it and keeps on motoring. We'll be right back. Chicagoland after this. Sun setting here at Chicagoland. Let's look at this week's standings for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. Jeff Gordon leading it right now, 173 points to Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 169. Stewart and Kenseth also in the top 4. Fans, don't forget to cast your vote for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award from your AT&T phone. Text in the car number for the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable in each race to 2258. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. But pit road is really becoming a story here tonight, and not for a lot of good reasons. A lot of guys having some issues. Watch this. As you see there, you see Reed Sorensen. Watch what happened to Reed on this last round of pit stops. He's got Marcus Ambrose coming up quick on the outside here.
Okay, watch where there's the cone. 47 beat him to the cone, and then the 43 went back past him. That's a penalty. Can't pass somebody like that on the on pit lane.
Now here's what it looked like. Here goes Ambrose. On board with Reed. Here he is right to his right.
Can I watch the 43 speed up?
And you can't do that. Yeah.
Wasn't much, but that's all it took.
That's all it takes. But you saw how good. Now, but the difference is the 47 is making time getting on pit road. He's actually making time. That was a great pit stop by the 47.
This Casey Kane.
You see the 9 car here. He leaves his pits, and as he gets here, we've been reported that his spotter's saying, watch your speed. He slowed down. He got almost 25 car lengths behind the Johnson car. The 48 car ran him down and has passed him since that pit stop and has taken over second. This car's moving right now, I'm telling you, because he lost a lot of time leaving pit road.
Greg Biffle had a problem too fast on pit road earlier. Now he picked up a penalty for non-compliant fueling. That could be a wide variety of things. This time they got him, the catch can man dropped the can.
Yeah, dropped the can. And, you know, Larry McReynolds said in our pre-race show, you know, Larry was talking about pit road, doing everything you have to do on pit road, especially under green. There's so many green. And we've talked about 4 or 5 cars here since the race has started, either under caution, entering too fast, passing, uncompliance on pit road rules and stuff like that, that are really in some way, shape, or form taking these guys almost out of a race or putting them at a disadvantage. Everything has to go right for you at a racetrack like this where you run so many green flag laps.
Mark Martin in the 5.
Boy, Mark is just putting these guys down, and that's talked about earlier. One of the things about this racetrack, when it does go green a long time and you get a guy that's hooked up like Mark Martin, you start lapping guys left and right. I mean, Jamie McMurray right there sitting in 23rd spot is going a lap down, and now Mark's looking for the next car, which is Keselowski in 22nd. I mean, and they're all in front of him. All these cars in front of him, you know, he's just putting these guys a lap down almost every other lap.
Well, he just squeezed Jamie right up to the wall.
Yeah.
Or is Jamie just trying to hang in there
he really
as long as
squeezed
he
him
could?
up to the wall much. I think Jamie just got loose coming on. You know, he was there, but a lot of you watch the left front tires going through the corners, and you can tell if a guy's loose, because when you see that wheel turn to the right, he's saving it. And I'm watching the left front wheels on these guys, and boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of wheels turning right halfway through the corner.
Marty, I'll tell you, Mark Martin's not only passing guys on the track, he's passing them in the points, too. He's gained 3 spots in the points. He's up to 10th now.
Well, that's exactly the point that Mark was making on the radio. He told Alan Gustafson, his crew chief, I'll slow down if you want me to, but what I really want to do, pass some of these cars that are in front of me. One of those, Juan Pablo Montoya, and he's battling him for a chase spot. Mark keeping it out front, passing as many cars as he can right now.
He's 10th in the points. Kyle Busch is now 9th, and the way Kyle's night is going, he might get by him too. Kyle's all the way back to 24th. And of course, Mark just leading as many laps as he can possibly rack up here. 70 already in the books for Mark Martin at the point. TT's coverage from Chicago, presented by Papa John's, will continue. Moments that change the game, brought to you by Viagra. Kevin Harvick wins the inaugural race at Chicagoland Speedway in 2001. He followed that up by winning here again the very next year after starting 32nd. Harvick has 5 total top 5 finishes at Chicagoland Speedway. Get this and more with NASCAR.com's Race View. Now for half the price, check it out at NASCAR.com/RaceView. And there's Mark Martin. Can he get inside of Joey Logano, the New Hampshire winner?
Been very careful. He caught this group, and just being real careful right now, picking through this traffic.
But you know, when you're as fast as Mark is, you can be careful picking your way through traffic. He doesn't have to run the guy down and make a move on the guy instantly. He can evaluate where the guy's running on the racetrack, watch what the guy's doing as he approaches him, and say, okay, where do I need to be? I like being on the bottom, so I'm going to let this guy slip or make a move. I'm not going to try to pass him on the outside.
Well, actually, when he came up on this group to begin with, they were all over the racetrack in front of him, and I think he just backed out. Like you said, he's got time. He let it settle down. He let it get single file, and then run his line. And Logano, another guy that looks like he's got his hands full with a loose race car.
Well, I mean, just about everybody's got their hands full, except for Mark, who's got a 4-second lead over Casey Kane.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Casey Kane's running good lap times. Jimmy Johnson's running good lap times. There's about 6 cars right now that are very, very close on lap times. They're just spread out on track position right now due to pit stops and, you know, working the traffic.
Kurt Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. battling over 9th. Larry, what do you think about the 88 car?
Well, Ralph, I think we saw this in practice yesterday, that it was going to be a Hendrick kind of a night. You've got 4 Hendrick cars up in the top 9. This group was smiling on Thursday after qualifying. Qualified 13th. They were kind of victim of an early draw, but they were all over the place with this race car yesterday. But before we had that last set of pit stops, they had made their way up to 6th with the 88 car. They lost 7 spots on the pit stop, fell to 15th after that restart. Now, Marty, they've worked their way back into the top 10. Looks like they've got their arms around this race car.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. told the guys, if I can ever get track position after a set of stops, I'll be okay. The car, Larry Mack's been pretty good tonight for Junior. They've been on both sides of the fence, a little bit tight, a little bit loose. On that last run, Junior said it was spin out loose. They put a rounded wedge in the left rear, gotten it a little bit better. Junior, though, loves to run that high line. Wally and Kyle, you know, when you're loose, it's hard to run that high line, isn't it?
Yeah, and he runs it well. He's got cool gloves. He's got the coolest gloves in the sport. I got to get me some of those with the bones on it. But, you know, Junior's one of those guys that he just likes to run there. It doesn't matter what his car does. But it is hard to run up there when it's loose. There's no question about it. But, you know, watching his in-car, you know, it looks like the car's fairly comfortable for him. He's not really doing much crazy with his hands.
But how many times do we see Junior go to the high line or Casey Kane go to the high line early in the race? And when we talk about this, and then you rubber up the racetrack. So it's green up there now, so no matter what your car's doing, you've got pretty decent grip over there. When the grip goes away and you're on the high side of the racetrack, you look like Kyle Busch coming through 3 and 4 earlier in the night. You just ricochet off the wall. But Junior makes that line work for him. That's the way Harry Gant used to make that line work for him. The King used to make that line work. Instantly they would go right up next to the wall, but everybody else didn't go up there. Now we have so many guys that are talented and go up there and run up there. You know, it becomes another place, but it rubbers up really quick.
Well, look at the closing speed of Mark. On board.
Now, if you remember at the start of the race, he had that dark shield on.
Yep.
It was a tear off. So once that sun went down over there behind 3 and 4, he just tore that thing off, and now he's got the clear shield.
I'm with him right here.
We didn't used to have that stuff 100 years ago, 150 years ago when we were driving.
Yeah, but remember when we'd start the race and the tape would be all the way down to the
halfway
cowling,
through the windshield.
You know what I mean? And then they expected you to reach up there and pull the tape off on the inside because NASCAR wouldn't let you tape it on the outside.
Well, how am I going to do that? Well, just loosen the belts up and then just reach up and pull the tape up. Oh, okay.
No problem.
Gotcha.
I'm strapped in. I'm blind because I can't see, and you want me to reach up there and find something and turn into the corner and pass somebody.
At 180 miles per hour.
No problem. I can do it.
Brad Keselowski's in that 25, and you heard Mark asking for a little help, trying to get some room to get around him. Looks like he's going to complete it there. Wow. What a sunset here at Chicagoland. We'll be right back for more. Stay with us. Welcome back to the LifeLock.com 402nd caution of the night. Debris on the racetrack. That's the same cause of our first caution tonight. Mark Martin continues to lead. He's been at the point for 89 laps tonight. Jimmy Johnson led 31. Nobody else has been able to touch Martin.
Big break for the 42. He's a lucky dog, and you know he's kind of flirting right there in that 12th spot in points right now. And the way Mark was putting these guys down, it was going to be a long night for a lot of guys.
It's already been a long night for a lot of guys. You know, I mean, we've seen guys that are loose, guys that have been in the wall, guys that have had trouble on pit road. That's a long night, and we're only 130 laps into the race.
Well, pit road has been a bit of an issue for quite a few guys tonight. Some guys have really struggled down there.
Nice thing about pit road right now, it's only going to be half full.
Yeah.
Which makes it a lot nicer for a lot of these guys on their pit stops right now.
Yeah, the first car 1 lap down is Montoya in 19th.
Look how much
Here they come, Lindsay.
Yeah, and Clint Boyer basically said, guys, please undo what you just did. So that's going to be what they're doing here in the 33 camp. They will give Clint Boyer a track bar adjustment this time around. They're going to give him 4 tires. He said he's a little bit loose, especially as conditions are getting cooler, Marty Snyder.
Mark Martin had just put the man in the down lap that he wanted to put down the lap. Juan Pablo Montoya, about 2 seconds after the caution came out, he came on the radio, said no changes at all, Matt.
The track has really taken a drastic change to the free side. The 9 of Casey Kane, air pressure change, and also talking about a track bar change as well. Half a turn of what they did before. Meanwhile, the 48 Jimmy Johnson, his car free rolling. They did a track bar and air pressure change on the 48.
And I think Mark could have had a 20-second pit stop, and he still would have come out of the lead because he had such a lead going in.
Exactly.
Well, they made a small change on the previous pit stop. He wanted no changes on this one. Sounds like they got that guess right that Kyle was talking about. Log on to NASCAR.com now and watch up to 4 live camera angles at once. The TNT Race Buddy Mosaic View. TNT Race Buddy on NASCAR.com. A good look at it. Getting ready for another restart. Mark Martin has been our race leader, and Juan Pablo Montoya got the free pass. Looks like we're going to have 3 wave around cards. Reed Sorensen, Jeff Burton, Craig Biffle. Larry, how about the double file restart here?
Well, I'm going to talk about the wave around cars. Reed Sorensen, Jeff Burton, and Greg Biffle. They're gambling a little bit here because they have not been to pit road since back around lap 95 to 99. So they only have about 20 to 25 laps of fuel. What they're banking on is the double file restart shootout style is going to bring another caution. Mission will then be accomplished. Because you can't pit, remember, if you're in a wave around car.
Well, I mean, you know, that's what they got to. They don't really have much of a choice. I mean, Larry's right. You're going to go out there and hopefully something's going to happen behind you. I mean, that's basically what you're banking on. You're hoping one of your buddies wrecks and brings out the caution.
But you know what they are, and the crazy saying in racing, cautions breed caution.
Yeah.
This is when it's going to happen if it does happen.
Well, and the way a lot of these guys have been handling, you're not really reaching too far out on the limb to think that maybe somebody's going to smack the wall.
Yeah, I think we better stick with the inside here.
Yeah, I do too. You got a really good jump last time. You know, if we can get that, we'll be in good shape.
I don't really think it matters where he goes while the way he's been running, but I mean, he's so good on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean,
just force everybody to work even twice as hard to get around you.
Exactly. Yeah, if somebody's going to pass him on the high side, they're going to have to be awfully good.
Yeah. So we take a look at the top 12 in points. Mark is now 11th. Kyle Busch holds down 10th. Greg Biffle is in 9th. Kenseth is in 12th. And Montoya is one spot out, and he's only 2 points behind in 13th. And that wave around really helped out Biffle. He went from 13th to 9th. Here we go. Pace car is off. Green flag is out, and we're racing once again here at Chicagoland.
Mark just picked right back up where he left off, I think.
He sure did, and we are fully into the night now. And how about Tony Stewart, who has gained 29 positions, sitting in 3rd?
I don't think that's really a huge surprise, only because he had a good car when he got here. I don't think they had a qualifying run that they wanted, but it doesn't take guys like Tony to get back to the front when you've got good race cars underneath you.
Whoa! Edwards and Gordon.
Oh, I can't believe he kept that thing off the wall.
That's a great job by two great drivers right there.
No kidding.
That's incredible.
Boy, that 99 was going to the wall.
Yeah.
And he was driving it. And Gordon, too, because Gordon got hit there.
They were both inside the top 10 when that happened.
They went it down the corner, and they were just basically leaning on each other already when they got in there. It looked like Edward just slid up the track just a little bit right there. And he's basically just saving it, and Jeff was there. But that was good driving by both those guys. Wow. This will be fun to watch.
About one.
And that's the two easiest cars he'll pass all night.
Yeah,
you love when they do that in front of you.
He was able to pick back up the throttle exactly where he wanted to because the seas just parted in front of him right there.
Jeff Gordon fell all the way to 14th.
Whoa,
Edwards is 17th.
Right. Yeah, 99's like, get me out of here. I don't want to be in here in the middle.
Matt, what does the 17 say?
Rough night for Matt Kenseth, Round. Early in the race, the car was absolutely plowing. He dialed so much rear brake into it. When he got ready to hit pit road, he over overshot pit road because it started to lock up. He had to go around, lost a lap. Then the car, you saw the video, extremely free, and that's pretty much been the story of his night. At one point, he was 25th. That put him 12th in the championship standings, but he's climbed up progressively a few spots. Now he's back to 10th.
And if you remember when we did the coconut race on TNT and we showed the pit stops of guys coming in the pits, Michael Waltrip locking his front brakes, Matt Kenseth locking his rear brakes as he came down pit road. Matt plays with his brakes a lot to be able to balance his car getting in and out of the corner, to be able to float it in there and drag the brake, not use too much front, not use too much rear. He plays with it a lot. So obviously here's one time that if reports are correct at bidding.
Battle for third. Tony Stewart has the position. Casey King takes it away from him.
Oh, Tony looked like he just backed off the throttle there.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, that 9 car is good on new tires. When we pitted before, we documented him leaving pit road and having some issues leaving pit road. He run that 48 car down from 25 car lengths behind to take over second place. And once again, here he is on new tires 3 or 4 laps into a run, and he's coming again. This is a track that hasn't been all that great for Casey King. It's the only oval he's never scored a top 10 on.
I'm just watching the times right now, Kyle. From when this race started to right now, they're running about 3 miles per hour faster just because of everything cooling down.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing presented by Papa John's live on TNT will continue right after these words from Chicagoland. Tune in to Cartoon Network tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern to watch Cartoon Network Flicks, brought to you by Papa John's. Mark Martin really tuned into this racetrack tonight. He has just dominated the show, having led 108 laps, and he's having just as much fun behind the wheel as you would imagine he would be.
I'm sure having a good time.
Yeah, Alan and Mark, I'm kind of having a good time tonight, too.
It's good, boss. Hey, Mark, you know the boss's 60th coming up, right? We're going to give him a big present. Yeah, it's tomorrow, which it'll be awful close to tomorrow by the time this race is over. So, yeah, I'm loving it, man. You know, it's not done yet, though. These things are really hard to win, but we got a hell of a race car. I'm proud to be driving it no matter what happens.
Those the very happy voices of Mark Martin, Rick Hendrick, and Alan Gustafson as we take you through the field. Mark Martin hoping he can give the boss man an early birthday gift on a Saturday evening stroll for Mark, making it look easy, very much indeed. His teammate Jimmy Johnson, though, catching him on this run. Why? Because Mark, a couple laps ago, hit the splitter in turn 4. Lap time's not quite as good. Matt?
Jimmy Johnson, his teammate, running in second. That's where he's finished twice here in the past in Chicagoland, looking for that first win. One of 6 racetracks, he's never won. The car much better this run after that track bar adjustment. It was way too free all the way through the corner earlier. It's much better now. Meanwhile, the 9 of Casey Kane runs solid in the 3rd position, about a second behind the 48 of Johnson. His best finish here, 15th. Could have won this race back in 04, but was involved in a crash. The car now much better. Just a slight track bar change on that last stop. Adam?
Matt, I guess we shouldn't be surprised that Tony Stewart started 32nd and has worked his way into the top 5. He has finished inside the top 5 in 6 of his 8 starts here. They have made minor adjustments throughout the night. Tony already calling for air pressure the next time they come in. Matt?
And Brian Vickers reporting basically the balance that he's searching has been a moving target. He was tight early in the race. Now he was free. Now it swung back to being extremely tight. Now he said on the last run, it was really loose early in the run. When it finally came in, it was too late. Their adjustment, they might have over-adjusted, looking at their next stop of what else to do. Lindsay?
Matt, Clint Boyer also feeling a little bit tight in the center. When they came in on that last pit stop, they made changes that took the car back to their original setup. You know, Ralph talked about this track and how much Clint loves it because it's like Kansas. He said everything the same, not just the racing, but the motorhome, the pits, everything. Bottom line, he feels at home here at Chicago, Marty.
Lindsey Denny Hamlin told me yesterday he loves this track because you have to drive the car kind of sideways. Well, I'm going to ask him after the race if he still loves it because this last run he was extremely sideways, so loose he could barely hang on to it in the middle of the corner, bouncing all over the place. They made a wedge and air pressure adjustment much better on this run. Got the car going now for Denny Hamlin, Adam.
One driver that really needs a good run tonight, Ryan Newman, a former winner here at Chicago. 4 consecutive finishes outside the top 15 have dropped driver 39 from 4th to 7th in the points. They have fought this race car all night long, making a number of adjustments. He just came on the radio and said, I needed to work better in the center, Matt.
You heard in the pre-race just how important this racetrack is for Kurt Busch. Would love to join his brother as a winner of Chicagoland. Currently runs 9th. He says the car, the front just not consistent with the back. He just can't find that balance. It goes back and forth, Larry Mack, from tight one run to loose the next.
Well, Matt, a car that has impressed me really since the drop of the green flag. Paul Menard in this 98 car. He qualified 27th. He has made his way up to the top 10. He's one of 16 drivers that ran the Nationwide Series race last night, and I think that really helped the drivers understand track conditions. This is a guy that only has 2 career top 10 finishes and 93 career starts.
Yeah, Larry, he's having a really nice run right now. Lap times are good.
Carl Edwards right behind him in the 99. Next up behind him, here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. charging along in the 88. He's up to 12th. As he goes way up top, there's Keselowski in the 25, who's lap down, and then you get the 29 of Harvick, 2-time winner here.
Yeah, the 98 and the 99 are the only 2 Fords right now on the lead lap.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah, like
it's
hard to believe a Ford hasn't won here.
Yeah, it's hard to believe because you would think this style of racetrack would match up with. And Kenseth has run so good here. You know, he's been leading on the last lap, the last couple of races here, only to be passed on the last lap. But it's hard to believe a Ford hadn't run. But it's hard to believe that with the quality of Fords we have in the field that these guys have just missed it tonight.
Jeff Gordon in the 24 runs in 14th with Martin Truex Jr. rounding out the top 15. Biffle, Sorensen, and Burton were the wave-around cars. We were wondering how long they were going to have to go before they pitted. They have all pitted now. We'll be right back. Chicagoland, right after this. Welcome back to Chicagoland. What a pretty sight. Just outside of the Windy City here in Joliet.
Spectacular.
That really is a pretty shot. It's been a pretty night for Mark Martin up at the front of the field. He's led 122 laps tonight. Here is tonight's field summary brought to you by Burger King. Only 5 leaders, and well, that 5 a popular number right up there. Look at that, 5 leaders, 5 lead changes, 5 cars out. We had talked about Nemechek, Gilliland, and Blaney out early on. Mike Skinner and Mike Bliss have joined that list. Only 2 cautions tonight. Mark Martin, there you see him. Back behind him, deeper in the field,
way
is this
behind
man.
him.
Yeah, Reed Sorensen. Now Reed is running back in 36. Kyle, he's 2 laps down.
2 laps down. 1 lap. Sorry, you caught me, man. 2 laps down. 2 laps down. 1 lap down because he had to pit because of the penalty. He had to drive through penalty. That got him 1 lap down. But they displayed the black flag with the white stripe and the white cross on it. And that meant they picked up his card, which never happens in this sport. Most of the time, by the time they threaten to give you that, your crew chief has said, get down here. They're going to pick up your scoring card. They basically just took a lap away from him because he didn't come in when they told him to come in.
And usually they usually tell you, you'll get that a couple of times. And what you're hoping is, and here we got the replay, what you're hoping is the crew is arguing their point. And when you see that card, you know your crew has lost the argument, and you have to come in.
And he had more issues right there with Michael Waltrip. Watch this again. Little contact there.
But you're right, Kyle.
100 laps to go, man. You're doing great.
I don't remember ever anybody having their card actually pulled, because normally you come in
Normally you come in. Yeah, normally you come in time. NASCAR gives you, it used to be they would show you the black flag. You had 2 or 3 laps to come in. Then they said, okay, if you don't come in those 2 or 3 laps, we're going to do this. So they allowed you to argue for 2 or 3 laps, and then you went the other way. I don't remember the last time I remember him picking up somebody's scorecard.
Mark gets around Michael Waltrip. He's really going to like who's up next. Kyle Busch, who's all the way back in 33rd. Just a rough night for Kyle. Because remember, that's the next guy in front of him in the battle in the point standings. Mark is 10th, Kyle is 9th. He just can't get rid of Waltrip that easy, though.
Well, I mean, Mark, he's being really careful right now. I mean, he's got a great race car, and he's just not forcing the issue. His car is so much better than these other guys. If he's going to run side by side for a couple of corners, he's eventually going to get by you. He's just running a really smart race right now.
Sam Hornish just in front of me. You can see him dealing with an ill-handling
Now,
car.
he may want to get by that car a little bit quicker just because he's all over the racetrack.
Not sure where he's going to go. Speaking of all over the racetrack, I know you. Wow, look at that.
Here comes a possibility of a caution.
Yeah, that was one of Mark's more tense moments right there as he quickly gets around those two.
Yeah, it was like, I'm tired of messing with you guys. I got to get gone.
I know you two guys are into motorcycles like I am. Sam Hornish telling me earlier this weekend just bought an Excelsior Henderson board track racer. Very cool.
That's bad to the bone.
Very cool. Stay with us. We're coming back to Chicago. Yeah. Fans want more TNT coverage. The Coke Zero in-car camera on Race Buddy lets you vote for and ride shotgun with Coca-Cola Racing family drivers. Check out the Coke Zero in-car camera on NASCAR.com's Race Buddy. Cast your vote now. Riding with Kevin Harvick. Two-time winner here. Look at Dale Earnhardt Jr. way up along the wall. Here's a fight for third. Casey Kane has it. Tony Stewart trying to take it away from him.
Wow, Stewart really rolled through the center and through the X of the corner much better than Casey Kane that particular lap anyway. It looked like they got in pretty even getting into the corner. They kind of stayed side by side, but boy, when it went from the middle out, Tony just took off.
And if you go back to New Hampshire where Tony run really, really good, to Pocono where he run really good, he rolled, man. He just they found something with their chassis and found something with their car stuff that he's really got this thing working in the center of the corner, and that's all you hear these drivers talk about, rolling through the center.
He's had an interesting night, Adam. He started all the way deep in the field in 32nd. He's even led a little bit tonight.
And that makes the 7th time in 9 races, Ralph, that he has led here at Chicagoland Speedway. He's been very impressive. They've made minor adjustments throughout the night. They had a very good baseline, which has been huge to get him to where he is. And Darian Grubb just came on the radio and said, we are going to pit in about 8 laps. That was a lap ago. So look for the 14 on pit road under green somewhere around lap 186.
Well, when your car's working that good, too, you don't want to come in the pits because you're seeing the guys in front of you are struggling. And you really, if your car's good, you really make up time on your competitors, you know, towards the end of the run. And, boy, when you're, like I said, when you're down on the bottom and rolling like that, you just want to keep going.
Well, we're going to be right back for green flag pit stops. We don't want to miss those. Stay with us. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. And pit stops underway. Here's Marty.
Ralph, green flag pit stops beginning. Denny Hamlin won the first hit pit road here. He said his car was just a little bit too loose, but they made it much better on that run. Down a quarter round on the track bar. Last run, Martin Truex Jr. coming down pit road right now very fast, but then caught the wall just a little bit. Car is loose for Truex. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, trying to tighten up that one car, who's had a pretty good car all night long. They told him midway through the race his brother Ryan won his 5th Camping World E-Series race of the year. Earlier tonight at Thompson Speedway, quick pit stop for the one bunch. Adam?
Kevin Harvick in the 29 coming to pit road. He won the first 2 races ever held here at Chicagoland Speedway. They will make an adjustment for tires and fuel at lap 186, Marty.
Jeff Gordon in, and remember that scuffle with Carl Edwards on the racetrack. He was not very happy with Mr. Edwards. The car extremely loose for Jeff Gordon out there entering. A little too tight off. They go down 2 rounds on the track bar. 2 stalls in front of him, his teammate Mark Martin, the dominant car all night long. Mark said a little bit too tight at the end of that run. They make a very small wedge adjustment, trying to loosen up it a bit at the end of the run. Adam?
Tony Stewart will make his stop at lap 187. 4 tires, fuel, and a slight air pressure adjustment. He said it gets better as the run continues, Matt, and contact with a 44 it looked like as Tony Stewart gets away.
And the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Chad Canals thinks at the end of the run they're just losing too much time. They needed to take a big swing at it. Made a significant chassis adjustment. Meanwhile, the 2 of Kurt Busch, his car, big adjustment as well. His car just way too tight and getting tighter and tighter as the run progressed. The 9 of Casey Kane making his way into his pit box. Look for a chassis adjustment. They're also going to go for an air pressure adjustment as well. He's starting to lose the handle at the end of that run. Big Tank Probus, former college football player in Louisville, makes the chassis adjustment on the 9 to Adam.
Menard having his best run of the season. You see his service is complete. He's pulling away. He got 4 tires, fuel, 188 the lap number, a slight air pressure adjustment to help what has been a tight handling race car. And Kyle Busch, who has battled it all night long, will make his stop under green at lap 188. They will make changes, 4 tires and fuel as well. And look at the right side of this race car. That tells you exactly what kind of night it's been for driver Busch.
I think leaving pits tell you what kind of night it's been for Kyle Busch, because you heard him, man. He was just hammering that thing.
How about Tony Stewart?
That was incredible.
You
know what? And Larry can probably speak to this better than I can. But sometimes when you're pitting like that, you'll communicate with the guy next to you and say, okay, I'm going to pit on lap, 180. You pit on lap 181. So it gives you a chance to come down pit road, clear the place, or clear your pit stall so the next guy can come in. Especially as we saw Tony there with A.J. Allmendinger. A.J. was a lap down. Okay, so it's a little bit of a courtesy, and a lot of times crew chiefs talk like that. Do they still do that, Larry?
I mean, you have to, Kyle, especially on the green flag stops. And I know both those cars, Allmendinger just went a lap down. But, yeah, even if you have to pit a lap early, you're better to do that than take a chance, because you and I both know once you hurt one of those front fenders, your night is done.
That was about as close as you could get without hurting one.
That is as close. But, it's funny how you're out there on the racetrack competing with each other. You want to beat everybody you can, but they work together on pit road to make it as good for you and as good for me, so we don't take ourselves out on pit road, and I think that's the point of that.
7 car, Robbie Gordon, too fast exiting. He's going to get a pass-through penalty. Robbie running in 37th. Mark Martin has easily clinched the most laps led tonight. 147 top slot so far. Of course, they're talking about giving the man that owns Hendrick Motorsports, Rick Hendrick, birthday present. Big birthday tomorrow.
Good shot. He's got 2 of his cars, 1-2. Looking awfully tough right now.
Only 5 cars behind the wall right now. Skinner, Bliss, Nemechek, Gilliland, and Blaney. All right, Larry, we're at 194 of the scheduled 267 laps here tonight. What are you thinking as a crew chief?
Well, I think the strategy is going to be about the same for everybody, Ralph, because as you mentioned, 193 laps down, 74 laps to go. Remember, the fuel window is about 54 to 58 laps. So the way I see it, if we stay green, it's a one-stop race for everybody. We should see green flag stops if we stay green. Remember, we've only had 2 cautions, somewhere around lap 240 to 245 in that neighborhood of 25 laps to go.
Now we hear that the 18 has just dropped a cylinder. I mean,
I think he did that leaving pit lane.
Yeah, when he was leaving, that's when he just...
When he left pit road, he lost the cylinder. I'm telling you, man, you get so mad that sometimes you pray these things blow up. You know what I mean? And when he left pit road, just from that standpoint, he dropped the clutch on that thing. I mean, we had the camera in his car. You could see it. I'm telling you, man, he's got to be turning 10,000 when he leaves the pits. It seems like. And you knock the cylinders out. You knock a valve out.
Listen. That was just, I want to kill this thing.
That's right.
Now.
I am mad. I don't want to be here today.
He's a quarter mile away from the right racetrack for that.
But here's the problem,
strip
man.
is
I
just
mean, he's
off the
13th in points, and he's on the edge right now of picking himself out of this.
And let me say that the only reason I can say that with some authority is I've done that before. I have done that, and I apologize to every engine builder out there, but I have done that.
Kyle Busch, feast or famine type season, having a rough one here tonight in Chicago. Welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway here in Joliet, Illinois, as NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing presented by Papa John's here tonight live on TNT. Our 6-race NASCAR Summer Series coming to a conclusion here tonight. Mark Martin continuing to lead, 157 laps now out front. Let's see the gap back to the 48. Jimmy Johnson is in second. There he is. He's just under 2 seconds behind Mark Martin. Jimmy's led 31 laps tonight. That's the second most laps led by anybody tonight.
Yeah, Jimmy's staying right there with them. It just depends on traffic. One guy's quicker one lap, one guy's quicker the other lap, but Jimmy's pretty much matching Mark's times right now.
Here's Clint Boyer in the 33 car. He is sixth.
Trying to make up some ground this front.
He's gained a spot in the points, Lindsay. He went from 16th to 15th the way he's racing here tonight.
Yeah, Ralph, he did, and they're obviously very excited about that. But right now, he said his car's a little bit tight in the center. But Shane Wilson is watching very closely, just as he was doing last night in that nationwide race. And I spoke with him this morning, and he said he will change his pit strategy a bit because he was so surprised how Joey Logano was able to stay out there and really hold off Kyle Busch with the tires. So that will be a huge issue that they start to look at as the laps wind down in this race. How do you guys think it'll impact things?
Supposed to do more than just shrug your shoulders.
I'm trying to figure that. I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah.
You know, this isn't not on the camera.
Now you guys are. I mean, he's sitting what 6th spot right now. It's be a big point. So what is he out right now? If he's 15th in points, how far back is he out of the points?
My scoring monitor only goes to 14th with the points. See if we can get that for you. If 14th is Rudiman, and Kyle Busch is 13th, and he's already dropped 5 spots in the points. So he's 115 out.
Yeah, and we need to correct something. Okay, we're being told now that Kyle Busch had already lost the cylinder before he come to pit road. So leaving pit road that hard, he didn't drop a cylinder, but that's just the frustration of hitting the wall, tearing the cylinder. Look, last time I broke a motor, tore a transmission out, and wrecked, I punched the cabinet and broke my hand and had to wear a cast on my hand.
Okay, but wait a minute.
About 6 weeks. So.
Let's straighten something out.
Okay,
you had a bad
night.
You had a bad night. You had a bad night.
I'm just clarifying.
You dropped the cylinder before the pit stop.
Before the pit stop.
So you're still trying to blow it up when you're leaving the pit. You're still trying to finish it off, whether you did it then or before.
I just wanted to clarify that it was blown up before he came down pit road.
You're just trying to stick a fork in that thing.
I'm just trying to clarify that.
All right, well, let's clarify this. We're going to check out a fresh take brought to you by Subway Restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. Let's go down to Larry Mack. Fork in hand, Larry.
Well, Ralph, I didn't get a chance before the green flag to give you our normal race averages or race trends. And what we look at is the last 8 races here at Chicago, which has always been here, 2001 through 2008. And 2, I want you to look closely at the longest green flag run. Average about 77 laps. We're right about that right now since that last restart on lap 136. Of course, if we go to the end with 60 laps to go, we'll almost double that number. But the one I want you to look at closely, just look. Average last caution around 253 with 14 laps to go. In fact, all 8 races here that we've been here, we've had a caution in the last 30 to 35 laps.
You saw Brian Vickers. He's back in 7th. Mark Martin back at the point. Picking his way through. He's already lapped all the way up to 15th. We'll be back. Third caution of the night. Once again, debris out on the racetrack. Pit road is open. Here's Lindsay.
And Ralph, once again, Clint Boyer is down. They will give him 4 tires and fuel, a quarter of a round of track bar. He said right now the car's pretty good. They're going to pull up, and hopefully this is the last stop, Marty.
This will get Mark Martin good to fuel to the very end of the race. Top left of your screen and the triples there. He said, I want a quarter round down of wedge. That's it. Need to be a little bit better at the beginning of the run, Matt.
Jimmie Johnson and Casey Kane, 2nd and 4th on pit road. Both have the same issue. Both need to be much freer over this run. Great stop by the 48 guys. Who's going to win the battle off pit road?
I think 5 got him.
Yeah.
It was close, though.
Not by a lot. The free pass, by the way, is going to go to David Rudiman. Here it is. 5, but not by a whole lot. We'll be back for the double file restart after these words. Wrapping up the third caution of the night. They've only had 12 laps under caution. For the wave around cars, Ambrose. Bunch of them going around.
Like half the field.
Yeah, and there's Mark Martin. 170 laps now out front tonight. Wave around group maybe getting a bit of a break this time on the fuel, you think, or
on the fuel?
With the fuel, with the pits.
A break?
No, why would they be
I wouldn't
getting
say
a
a break. I wouldn't say a break. I would say they're in a worse position. Because you're sitting here, these guys that have pitted have their fuel.
Yeah.
And they can probably go to the end unless there's a green, white checker, or unless, you know, they're going to be right there. These guys that got the wave around got to get a caution or got to get something because they're going to pit and go from being where they're at. So it's going to come back to haunt them at some point in time if they don't get a caution.
Speaking of pit stops, the 14 has been so good the last 2 weeks up until right now. Watch the left front. Short one to Lucknut right there. Had to come back in. He was 6th just before the pit. Tony Stewart now 15th.
I think the cool part about that shot was you saw him with his hand up in the wheel as Tony began to drive away, and then he snatches it out. That's how those guys have to be on top. Even when you make a mistake, you got to be on top to keep somebody from getting hurt.
Green flag is out.
See if Jimmie Johnson's been showing his full hand right now. So I think he's actually been as good as Mark all night. See if he's just been riding or not.
Well, Jimmie Johnson brought the same car to this racetrack that led 146 of the 200 laps earlier this year in Michigan. A very good race car. Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, up to 8th, battling with Edwards and Kurt Busch.
No, there's no room in the middle there. I don't know what he was looking at, but looked like the 2 car was going to try to split them.
And Carl drove that thing down in there and let it drift up a little bit. And when he did, I think Kurt wanted to just look and see if, will this car fit there?
Mark's won 2 night races this year. Same car as Darlington.
Yeah. And of course, we were talking about Michigan. Michigan was the race where Johnson led all those laps, but it was Mark Martin who pulled into victory lane that day. Ryan Newman in the 39 is in 13th. He's got Montoya in there with him.
Harvick right behind him.
Wow, that's
no trouble.
Third
Hornish.
caution as Hornish goes sliding through the grass.
Push up into it.
Oh. I don't know if he could see through the windshield all that smoke.
Any contact back there. Leaders at the line. Sam, caution's out.
You okay, bud? I just saw the replay.
That's the caution the wave around guys are looking for.
Yeah, that's the caution wave around guys needed from a fuel perspective. You know, some of them obviously, hopefully, as you look at it, you got to figure out which ones were able to capitalize on that. But at the same time, that's what the wave around guys needed, was an early caution to be able to get back on the lap that they needed to be on and then come down pit road. And now it takes fuel mileage basically out of play. This is not a fuel mileage race right now. I think I can say that with authority. Maybe not.
You can say it. Doesn't mean we're going to believe it.
Doesn't mean it's true.
I'm just glad you can say it without a French fry in your mouth.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the window net's down.
I think he's just trying to get all his stuff off. These cars, you know, when you're inside these cars, you got a lot of stuff that you're hooked to. Hoses and HON devices and radios, and there's all kinds of stuff plugged into your helmet. So getting out of these things takes a little bit of time sometimes, especially where the seats are great now because the seats totally wrap around you too. You got to take the steering wheel off. Now, if he was on fire,
look how much smoke's in that car, though. Look how much. I don't know where the smoke's coming from in this car because I thought he got. I really thought the way it came out of the pack, and we've not seen a replay, that he got spun, that he got tapped because he just kind of floated down through the infield into the wall.
Usually,
more like you got turned out of a pack.
Usually, you get help on one of those situations. Taking a look, here's a great high shot.
Sam was in 20th.
It looks like the 20 car is underneath him, and he just kind of lost it, or he got hit a little bit, but yeah, Hornish was innocent victim there. He just definitely got the short end of the stick.
Yeah, it was not Sam's fault at all. See the 20, he's in the gas, and as he comes up the racetrack, oh man.
Man, hey, that thing really took a right.
Yeah, it took a dead right on him. It's hard to say whether somebody got into Joy.
That's what it almost looked like. Somebody got into LaJoy and got him turned, because that's a big turn to the right.
Yeah, Logano just kind of took off up the racetrack. Oh.
Yeah.
Now that's what the guys see right behind that. You saw how blank, how the screen just went to nothing.
That's a bad part, when you can't see anything and you know you're going to hit something. You just don't know when you're going to hit it.
Sam did get out of the car. He's walking back. Catch a ride in. The one car, Martin Truex, is going to get the wave around, or the free pass, I should say. And we'll return to Chicagoland after this. Rankings for tonight's AT&T fastest pit crew here in Chicago.
Well, there's no question we got to go with that 5 group. Alan Gustafson, of course, they've had an awesome race car. They've been flawless on pit road, so we're going to have to go with that group. And how about Denny Hamlin? You know, you look at his last 5 races, I think he's had like 3 or 4 top 5 finishes. Mike Ford in that group got him sitting up there in 3rd. And you know what? I have got to tip my hat to this group. I talked about him earlier. That 98 car, Paul Menard, Larry Carter, the crew chief, sitting up there in 7th. Obviously, their car's been good. Their pit stops has went right along with it.
Fans, we want to hear from you. Cast your vote for the AT&T fastest pit crew of today's race. From your AT&T phone, text in the car number for the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable in this race to 2258. Getting ready to come back to the green. Double file restart, ready to go. We were talking about the 9 cars that did the wave around. The only guy that really benefited out of it was Keselowski in the 25. He was the only wave around who got back on the lead lap. Truex did, however, get the free pass. Here we go again.
Shake and bake. Clear by 2.
48.
Well, he had
flexing the muscle.
Yeah, he had led 31 laps earlier, and maybe you're right, Wally. Maybe he was kind of holding back a little bit.
I don't know if he's holding back. I mean, Mark had a really good car, but Mark wasn't making any ground. He was not leaving Jimmy Johnson, and that's why I started watching these last 20 laps, 30 laps, going, you know what, Jimmy Johnson may just be riding. So we're getting towards the end of the race. He's going to have to show what he's got at this point.
Yeah, and this is a point where Mark Martin's had clean air for 15 or 20 laps after every restart. Now Jimmy Johnson's experiencing that clean air that we talk about so much. But I'm going to tell you, where Mark seems to really beat him, Mark rotates to the center and goes to the gas and runs straighter up off the corner than what Jimmy or anybody's been able to do all night.
Lindsay's caught up with Sam Hornish.
Sam just came out of the infield care center. Sam, first and foremost, are you okay? And take me through what happened.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's unfortunate for the 1-1 Dodge for sure, but I don't know, the 20 car just pushed up into us, spun us around, and you know, slid through the grass forever until we hit the inside wall, and then I couldn't get it refired, so had to come back here. But I don't know. I get raced pretty hard by the 20 car, so it's about normal.
Well, the 20 ended up. Oh no!
Caution's out.
Oh
no.
Man, there goes
Jeff Burton gets clobbered by Speed.
And Menard was already the first car involved.
Wow, that's a big hit right there. That's good. You heard him say, "Are you all right?" And you heard him say, "Yay, bub." So that's pretty good.
Menard's moving, and so are Speed and Burton.
Let's see what happens here.
A junior. Little contact.
Oh,
the
cut
tire.
apart. Yeah, but that was due to the contact with the 88. I mean, they rubbed each other getting off the corner, and that's what cut the tire. But
he must have run over something.
Yeah.
When you look at the car back here, there's another car. If we can come back and maybe we can tell us straight.
Jimmy McMurray.
Jimmy McMurray.
You watch here, Junior. Just he'll rub up into that right in here. That's what cut the tire initially, and it just finally goes down here in another second.
And you see it's flat right there.
Yeah.
It was flat right before it went behind that.
You're along for the ride at that point.
Outside at your door. Still outside, inside, in the middle, in the middle, in the middle.
Pretty good shot.
Yeah, you can hear that.
Low, stay low. All right, come on back up.
Wow.
And it just turned that car dead to the left.
Yeah, when it comes apart, it just rips a quarter panel off and then turns the car dead across the racetrack.
And they were really having a good night, too. You heard Larry talking about how good his pit crew was doing. They had him running in 8th. Here's the problems behind him. You see
McMurray?
Right there. I mean,
man.
But you see McMurray and those guys, they just ran over the debris that came out from under the 98 car when he blew the tire.
Tony Stewart sneaks through TNT's coverage from Chicagoland. We'll be right back. TNT's coverage from Chicago presented by Papa John's continuing as we wrap up our NASCAR summer season here on TNT. 5th caution of the night. Jeff Burton was involved in it, and Lindsay is caught up with the driver of the 31.
Ralph, Jeff Burton running 30th when caught up in that accident. Jeff, take me through what happened.
Long night. We had a decent car and came in the pits there, and thing fell off the jack and got 2 laps down or 3 laps down, and you know, just ridiculous. Just all kinds of stuff happening to us. And then you know, I know double file restarts are exciting and all that, but this is the 4th week in a row we've been wrecked on a double file restart, and I'm about done with it.
Any chance that your team gets this thing? I know that there's not much time at all in this race.
It hit really hard, and you know, it's a shame. We just, like I said, 4 weeks in a row, double file restarts, we've been in a wreck, and hadn't caused one of them. And you know, it's I know it's exciting to watch and all that, but I've had enough of it.
Jeff Burton, obviously frustrated about the new rule, Ralph.
Yeah, apparently not a fan.
Yeah. No, and I thought he did a good job, because when she first asked him the question, he wanted to say something then. And he hesitated for just a few seconds, took a sip of his Coke Zero, and then said, okay, I'm just not a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Jeff has been running at the finish in all 18 races so far this season until tonight.
Nobody's gonna take my car. I'm gonna race into the ground. Nobody's gonna be my car. It's gonna break the speed of sound. I love it. I need it. I bleed it.
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. closing out our 5th caution of the night. It took us 211 laps to get 2 cautions in earlier this evening. Since then, we've run, what, another 56 laps or so? We've had 3 since then.
48, the leader, chooses the outside lane. That's a little bit surprising, you know, just knowing how good the 5 has been on the bottom.
Yeah.
The only thing you really got going for you, if you're the leader, is that you are going to get a little bit of a jump, because the second place guy can't beat the leader to the start finish line. So maybe, you know, Jimmy Johnson's thinking he's going to have enough momentum to pull out in front of Mark on the exit of turn 2.
Well, we're about to find out.
Wow.
Well, look at Mark come back on the inside.
And this is where Mark is.
There you go, right there, boy. Just shot around Mark.
Well, and that's how Johnson had passed him earlier, was on the outside, so he had a lot of comfort in it. Vickers, who had started on the pole tonight, trying to take second away.
I think Mark's car took off a little bit because he's on that. Mark, we've not seen Mark in this lane all night long.
But, you know, you touched on earlier, Kyle, this, you know, Mark's been, he's had his own race. He's had nobody to follow all night long. Now he's in traffic, and these cars handle totally different when you're following a good race car.
Marty, how about Mark Martin on the restarts?
Well, and Mark is not happy having to do all these restarts. Remember, it takes about 10 laps for this 5 car to come into the way Mark likes it. So every time they have a caution, it really slows down their momentum. Mark wants to go green from here to the end, but all these cautions really messing up their rhythm.
34 to go. Newman and Keselowski battling over 10th position. '25 was a wave around earlier in the night. Brad Keselowski making his way inside that top 10 and trying to hold on.
And I guess we shouldn't be surprised, Ralph, because coming into tonight, he had been in the top 10 in 3 of his last 4 Cup starts. The only hiccup coming last week at Daytona when they had some problems involved in an accident. This kid has struggled qualifying, but you put him in the race, he can get it done. They have taken advantage of a good race car tonight, a little bit of racing luck, and here he is again with an opportunity to be in the top 10 for the 4th time in 5 races. That's a major statement for a team that runs part-time.
It is. I mean, they struggled at Dover because they missed a show at Dover. Yeah. You know, the one. I mean, but when he gets in the race, he does run darn good.
He runs good. He obviously won Talladega and the 09 car. But you know, the one thing is, here's a wave around car running in the top 10. We saw the 42 car at Pocono in the first TNT race. Wave around car finishes in the top 10. We've not had a lot of wave around cars this year during these 6 races. Once they changed and went to the double file, that have been able to capitalize on it. But the ones who have been able to use that rule to their advantage have gotten themselves back in the race and have had good finishes.
And I think it took a track like this in order for it to work out, too.
Well, this is the majority of the racetracks. When you start looking at the mile and a half racetracks, you start looking at those, then you end up with 10 or 12 or 15 racetracks, which is the heart of what the season is. It's not the Daytonas. It's not the Poconos. It's not the road courses and the short tracks. This is the heart of what the racing is. And if you can capitalize on the wave around here and make that rule work for you, that's a big deal.
Tony Eury Jr. working on that pit box of the 25, too, for Brad Keselowski. And just to compare, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about it, Tony Eury Jr. has got Keselowski in 10th, and his old car,
David, 43 gave the 12 a little bit of shot there. Looked like the 12 got in the corner, and he almost slowed down a lot, and all these cars came in really, really fast on him.
Just to finish that off, Marnie, the old car for Tony Eury Jr., Dale Earnhardt Jr. running in 17th now with his new crew chief, Lance McGrew.
Yes, indeed, and he's one of those cars that pitted a few laps ago on lap 227. Jr. and Lance McGrew doing that because they thought that the car would come to life, and indeed it is not. It's gone a little tight for Jr., but he does have 4 new tires on, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can make his way back through the field. Currently in 17th, as you mentioned, Ralph, but hoping these tires can propel him forward a little bit.
Okay, and let's go back to Junior a little bit. Here he is back at the top of the racetrack. We saw the last couple of laps, he's been back down on the bottom of the racetrack or the middle of the racetrack trying to make it work. 5 laps into the race, he was at the top of the racetrack. So he's worked the top of the racetrack all night long. When you change your groove late in the race and then try to get your crew chief to adjust to it, you've been telling him one thing all night long, and then you're in a different place on the racetrack. You confuse your crew chief too. So Junior needs to go back to what he knows, which is the top of the racetrack, to make that car work, because I'm sure that's where Lance and those guys have adjusted for.
Yeah, I think he's. Yeah, you're right, Kyle. I think he's searching right now.
He's searching.
You know, he's looking to see. I think he's trying to look for a couple of spots here to see if the car will be better down on the bottom or whatever you say. But you're right. I mean, right now he's sitting in 17th spot, and the last couple laps have been about 7 miles per hour slower than the leader. So he's losing ground in a hurry right now.
And you know, the worst thing to do, and you know this, is to be 15, 20 laps to go, searching for a place to run on a racetrack.
Too late for that.
Yeah, it's too late. You've got to go ahead and establish where your car works best, and you've got to commit to that. And that's what Mark, and that's what the 48, and that's what those guys have done. They've committed. Hey, I know the bottom works for me. That's where I'm going.
Jimmy Johnson has won in 5 of the last 6 races when he's been leading with 25 to go, which is right where we are now.
Yeah, he just seemed like he was sitting back there stalking.
Let's take a look at tonight's NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile Now moment. That last restart, Jimmy Johnson took the outside line. He thought maybe Mark was going to get a run at him. And then watch what happens down here in 1 and 2.
I don't think Mark could just hold the center there. He got a little bit loose. He had to jump off the throttle, and 48 was in the throttle.
Yeah, and you see the 83 gets that run on him down the backstretch, which takes second place away.
Find out what's happening now in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with live race radio, live in-car audio, and real-time stats on NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Visit sprint.com/speed. Only from Sprint, only on the Now Network. Jimmy Johnson's building on that lead, Matt. He's up to 1.2 seconds between him and Vickers. Added a 10th that last time around.
And Jimmy's best friend right now, track position. He's got that clean air out front. He's felt like the issue that he was going to fight near the end of this run with the car just too tight. But that fresh air out front helping. Meanwhile, the 83 of Vickers, you have to look at what they came into this race trying to accomplish. They won the pole, big picture racing here, trying to score that first win. 5th, 2 separate times this year, running solidly in the 2nd position. Great start on this restart to get him that 2nd spot. Now he's just trying to hold on to it, Ralph.
Yeah, now it's up to caution.
Out. Double zero, buddy.
Yeah, I saw the 00 Ruderman get up in the wall coming off of turn 2.
6th one of the night.
Wasn't sure how hard he got into it, but there's a lot of rubber on the paint back there if that was from him. This is actually coming to the start. Okay, here we go. Just going into turn 1. Oh, he just got clipped a little bit from the 42 car.
It looked like one got real loose down there and slid up the track on him. They were fighting over 12th position.
Okay. Boy, Larry was right about cautions too, getting right down to the end.
And Mark Martin wanted green flag laps, and this doesn't help him at all.
Now this is falling into Jimmy's hands right here. I mean, now Mark's going to be in the back in the 2nd row on this restart instead of up on the front row.
Yeah.
And I don't think the 83, I just don't think the 83's got anything for the 48, especially on the starts. Jimmy's been pretty strong on these restarts.
And you know, I know we mentioned and was said that Mark wanted a long green run. I didn't see Mark making a lot of progress on that green run. And that was a pretty long green run. His car should have come in by then. These guys are up there now.
That dirty air.
Yeah.
Pit road is open. I don't know if anybody is going to do anything with this. I would be very surprised if they did.
Well, I think there's going to be some guys in the back of the
not at the front.
But I think a lot of people at this point in time in the race is thinking, I watched that nationwide race last night. Track position's more important than tires are at this point in time. That's the way it was in the nationwide race. Now, this is a totally different animal. So, you know, it's up to the crew chiefs to earn their money and make their calls right here. Wow.
Well, I think Jeff Gordon, the eighth and back, pretty much are coming down.
Keselowski's coming in, Newman, Montoya, Ambrose.
I think a lot more come down pit road than I
was going to say. This changes it a little bit because you're going to have new tires only a couple rows back.
Yeah.
Earnhardt Jr.'s in.
I really thought maybe the first 15 or so cars, or maybe more than that, would have stayed out, but it only looks like the first 8 or 10 cars really stayed out.
Pit stops are completed. We'll be back for another double file restart right after this. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing presented by Papa John's, continuing from Chicagoland Speedway here in Joliet, Illinois on TNT. The NASCAR Summer Series wrapping up here tonight. Our 6-race tour. 18 to go. Once again, Jimmy Johnson's going to take the double file restart from the point on the outside. He'll have Vickers to the inside this time. And as you said, Wally, it's going to be Mark Martin back on the inside now of row 2.
Yeah, now, again, seems like every time we go to restart now, he's losing more and more of that clean air. You know, we talk about it a lot. It's so important to have your car out front, to steal all that air so you have all that downforce on the front of your car. It just helps you through the corners. It helps put pressure on your front tires. And it gives you grip.
Oh, and he gets him sideways. Jimmy Johnson's got Hamlin inside. Hamlin pushes him high and comes through as Johnson loses a bunch of spots. Now Vickers goes to the front with Mark Martin trying to shove him through.
Just getting ready to say, Hamlin got a great start. He pushed the 48 all the way down into turn 1 and then pushed him out of the way coming out of the corner.
It's not over.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot to prove right now at the front, isn't there, those two guys?
I'll tell you what, Jimmy Johnson did.
What's the foul car?
There he goes.
He's
going to say, see ya.
Clean air.
There's that clean air he's been searching for.
Clean air for the 5 car.
They all gave it back to him.
Oh, look at Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch.
I don't think Kurt knew that Jimmy was there. Kurt was trying to get away to the inside and clear the 83 car, and just Jimmy was there.
Oh, more contact, more paint rubbing, and Jeff Gordon dives to the bottom to try to avoid it all.
That looked like a comeback to me.
Kurt's got a tire rubbing right now.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, that's gonna be big right now.
Still out there.
Oh, and is that Boyer in the 33 with Keselowski in there too, and Keselowski goes all the way to the wall.
And Keselowski looks like he's got trouble because he's slowing and getting way out of the way.
Smoke still coming off of the 2 of Kurt Busch.
Boy, how fast things change.
Wow. I mean, you got a guy checking out in the 48 car, and now he's in 3 wrecks within 1 lap.
Yeah.
They just don't throw a caution for anything. 2 cars rubbing tires, and Mark's back out in clear air and running away from the 11. And the 83 and the 48 that were the main contenders in the race all night long have dropped back.
Kurt Busch was in 5th. He has dropped to 8th, and the tire's still rubbing, now 9th. Keselowski was running at 11th.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane here. These guys may have pitted. Did either one of these guys
24
pit?
did.
Gordon, 24
the 24
did,
is on fresh tires right now, and I'll tell you what, looks like he's making up some ground right now.
Yeah, he's going to try to get 3rd away from Kane here. Keselowski visited pit road.
Kane's just strong enough to keep him down on that inside, and that's keeping these guys from catching. That's keeping the 40 or 24 from being able to capitalize on his tires right now. Now I don't know at what point these tires equalize, new to old. You know what I mean? When you look at it and you say, okay, at what point do the speeds kind of neutralize themselves out? But the 24 finally gets around the 9. He's got to get around him if he's going to make a run at this thing.
Let's go back and take a look at all this unfold, beginning with the 11 and the 83 here of Hamlin and Vickers.
Now the 83 just gets a little bit loose up right here and goes into the 11, back on the bottom where he needs it. What I'm interested to see is between the 2 and the 48, if the 2 actually turn down on the 48. See, the 48.
And this would have happened in the front stretch after they got together in the middle of the back stretch.
Right. Okay.
No.
Yeah. The 2 definitely took an extra shot at the 48. Now, 48. What happened was the 48 got loose coming up out of 4 and got into Kurt, and I'm sure Kurt didn't appreciate that, but Kurt definitely turned down on the 48 and gave him another shot.
Yeah, I think that the one in the middle of the backstretch there, when you looked at the thing in the middle of the backstretch and you looked at coming off 4, that's just racing.
And prior to that, you saw the 2 got into the 9 as well. Marty, how about those tires on Jeff Gordon's car?
Yeah, what a call by Steve Letarte, pitting there on lap 248. They made a big adjustment, a wedge adjustment, trying to free this thing up, and the car absolutely has come to life. He's one of those guys, took on tires, took the chance, restarted 10th. He's come up to 2nd. Steve Letarte, his biggest cheerleader on the radio, saying go every lap.
He is digging, Marty. He's 1.4 seconds behind his teammate Mark Martin, and they wanted to give the boss, Rick Hendrick, a birthday gift. Here they come.
Well,
1 and 2.
It'll be interesting to see right now what their lap times are this lap. The 48 and the 24 are fairly clean right now. Or I'm sorry, the 5 and the 24. I'd like to see what Jeff Gordon comes across the line at right now. See if he is actually gaining on Mark Martin. The last lap, Mark ran 171.8 and Gordon was 171.5. This lap, still, Mark Martin is a little bit quicker than Jeff Gordon.
You know, and the thing is, with what, 8 laps to go, Mark's not going to get in any traffic. I don't believe he's going to catch these guys. Looking at the total racetrack here, he may catch a couple of guys, but they're going to get out of his way in plenty of time. The 18 is going to be the next car he really catches. So these guys are racing in clean air for the last 7 or 8 laps of the race.
And again, even if Jeff does catch him, he's got to get around him. Mark's been working so good on the bottom. You know, Jeff's going to have to pass him on the outside. That's going to be pretty hard to do.
Teammate battle there for 5th with Newman and Stewart. 7 to go.
Uh-oh, we got trouble in 4.
Oh, Kyle Busch
finally finishes it off. What a night.
It blew up, boy.
And that's not what Mark wanted to see.
No.
And especially if he said it blew up, because that's, if it blew up, then it may have put something down on the racetrack.
All right.
And I think if you have fresh tires, anywhere is going to make a difference is on a restart.
Yes.
Larry?
Well, the 24 car, I was just going to say, remember, he has about 36 lap fresher tires than Mark Martin. There's a lot of reasons Mark Martin didn't want to see a caution, but those 4 Goodyears on that 24 car is the biggest reason.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you on that, Larry. I think where the difference is going to be is on these restarts. I mean, just even on the initial go, you got more rubber on the rear tires, it's going to give you a better acceleration.
Logano's going to get the free pass.
Yeah, he just went in the corner and it blew. Actually, I'm sure
yellow.
all kinds of stuff blew out the bottom of that race car and got on the rear tires. And there's not much you can do when you're going down the corner and the engine blows.
And you could hear it. That was good in car because you heard it just kind of bog itself down as it turned around. And that's just the engine just locking up and seizing up.
So Mark Martin is back now to 12th in the point standings. Still inside the 12 where he's got to be to make it into the chase. Gordon, of course, looking to get the win, get some of those bonus points to help him out when the chase begins.
I hate running through that white stuff.
I know, man.
You know, because when you're out, and it may not be, but when you're driving and you've been racing out there and your tires are hot and they want you to run through that white stuff, psychologically it's like, oh man, I'm screwing up my tires right now. It's sticking to my tires.
Marty, what are the crew chiefs thinking?
Alan Gustafson and Mark Martin making a little conversation here about which lane they're going to pick. I think Mark's going to pick the outside here. How worried are you about those new tires behind you with your teammate?
You know, I'm worried about the tires. I'm more worried about the double file restart. These guys on this Kellogg's Carquest Chevy have done an awesome job, awesome pit stops, and Mark's drove his tail off. Had a great car, you know, but that's what makes these races so interesting, so good for the fans. It's going to be tough. So it's all in the restart. I think if we get clean air, we'll be gone. But we got to get that 24 cleared, and that's not easy to do.
It's going to be very interesting, and that was the debate. Alan was trying to talk Mark into taking the outside lane. You guys have mentioned it all night long. Mark Martin has chose the bottom lane, taking the outside for this final what could be the final restart, I should say.
Boy, I don't know if that was the right move or not. I just, you know, if Jeff Gordon's tires are a little bit better and you're on the bottom and you can nail that throttle and then that thing hooks, he's going to be gone.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm thinking, okay, I'm on the outside with older tires. You're on the inside with newer tires. 99% of the racetracks in the world, you want it the other way
exactly.
around. Yeah. So this is going to be, I'm not sure which lane to choose.
Well, let's hear how that conversation unfolded between Alan Gustafson, the crew chief, and the driver, Mark Martin.
Okay, which lane should we start in? Are you okay up top? I don't know. You know, if he starts up top, he's going to... Here's the way I look at it, Mark. If you get a good enough restart clear, we'll go. If he can start with you, he's going to suck you around, or at least try like hell.
And I think what he means by sucking it around, you know, if you're on the top and there's a guy on right to the left of you, if you drive down on him in the corner really, really close, you can get a guy loose, and that's what he means by sucking him around.
But we saw that with the 48 and the 5 car on one of the restarts where they went down in the corner together, and Mark got a little bit loose, worked up the racetrack. The 83 shoots by him on the inside, and the 11 almost gets by him. That's where Mark ends up third earlier in the race.
Marty, how about Steve Letarte?
Well, let's check in with the other crew chief of this. It's good when you look like a genius, isn't it? You think your new tires can pass your teammate?
I don't know. I think probably the new's gone off the tires, but Jeff drove a remarkable race. You know, DuPont National Guard Chevrolet's nowhere near where it needed to be tonight, and this pit crew's battle, the drivers battled. And that's all you got to do is get yourself in position at the end. He's done that. What happens, happens. You know, we finished 1-2 in Michigan, so I think there's a couple lucky fans. Maybe if we can finish 1-2 here, they'll get a little bonus from the race sponsor. That'd be great, but just proud of the whole team. Hopefully we'll see what happens.
Are you surprised your teammate took the outside line there?
No. You know, everybody's car is different, so they all know what they're doing. They're the best in the world. So see what happens here. It should be exciting.
Be about, what, 3 laps to go when we get this green, guys? This is going to be fun.
Yeah, Marty, that's about right. And we went to try to talk to Kyle Busch after he made it back down to the pit area after finally seeing that car let go on him, but he didn't want to talk. He's not feeling too good after breathing all those fumes.
I'm sure he's not feeling good about a lot of things tonight.
All night. Well, you can only imagine the things going on inside the minds of these two drivers. Yeah, but, you know, we're getting ready to have a great finish here tonight. Let's go back 1 week. Take a look at that finish at Daytona. What did you guys think about how that all went between Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch?
Did you say that, Kyle? Okay. Let's read the question. Last week, Kyle said it was okay for 14 to take out. He didn't take him out, okay? He didn't take out the 18. The 18 right here. The 18 blocks left. The 18 goes black to block right, and he takes himself out. That's straight up racing right there. I don't care. Block me once, that's okay. Block me twice. We saw it at Talladega. We've seen it 100 times. You'll see it for 20th place. You'll see it for 30th place. The bad part about this is the scene you're seeing right here. The other people that it took out of this race. They were very fortunate and very blessed that no one was hurt. But Kyle blocked twice. That was a vicious hit right there when the 20 car hit the 18. But I'd say that's straight up racing. That is a racing incident that could have happened on the 5th lap, the 6th lap, or the 7th lap. I don't care.
He's right. I mean, that's the way you have to race a restricted plate race. I mean, if you're in front, you've got to use the mirror. And it's been like that. This isn't something new. This has been like this for 15 years.
Okay, have I missed something here? But on Twitterville here, they're saying that if these guys run 1st and 2nd, there's $1 million bonus.
No, you haven't missed something. Okay. That is out there because they finished 1 and 2 at Michigan.
Yes.
And LifeLock also sponsored that race. So LifeLock has put up a bonus of $1 million.
So then you
bucks.
have missed something.
Yes.
I've missed something, and I apologize to everybody out there. I missed this, but this is cool. So I'm pulling for everybody in front of the 11 and the 9 car right now. I'd like to see somebody win $1 million.
Just remember the 14 and the 39 also got fresh tires, and you see them in the picture as well, with Newman in 5th and Stewart in 6th. Here we go. 3 to go from Chicagoland. Mark Martin leading the pack to the line. There's the green. We're underway.
Okay, the leader got a great jump, and he's going to choose whichever lane he wants when he gets there.
That's what he really needed. Now, this is going to be key, though. 1 and 2 right here.
That's where you want to be able to choose your own line when you know when you're going to go.
Now, Mark got a great restart, and Casey Kane taking the second position now.
Gordon trying to come back on the bottom.
And this is what Mark wants to see in his mirror. He wants to see those guys racing like heck behind him.
Stewart up to 4th. Here comes Tony. Remember how far back he started tonight. Way deep in the field. Stewart began in 32nd tonight, running inside the top 5. Here we go. White flag is out.
I'm telling you, these guys chasing Mark Martin better be glad it's not another 100 laps in this race, or he'd lap them all. Casey Kane had a great night. How about Tony Stewart?
Wow,
as far back as 17th after that pit stop has driven back to 4th. What a great run. What a great
Coming
run
to the checkered flag. Mark Martin takes the win. Jeff Gordon finishes in 2nd.
And that's $1 million from LifeLock, people.
Man, that was a heck of a race, man. I can't believe it. Tell me, we won, right? I can't believe that. Mark, you didn't win. You crushed him, baby. You crushed him, baby.
Yes, you did, Mark.
$1 million. You three.
His 39th win and his 741st start. His 4th win of 2009, the most of all drivers. And his first win here in Chicagoland, and his 9th start here. 7th different winner in 9 races here at Chicagoland. And he's 11th in points now.
I'm telling you, man. 50 years old on a Saturday night, he still knows how to get it done.
He likes these Saturday night races.
Yeah, he does, baby. He does.
How could you not when you perform like that?
That's exactly right.
I love you guys, man.
Well,
Love you.
they wanted to give the boss, Rick Hendrick, a gift. They sure did. Top 2. $195 laps Mark Martin led here tonight, the most ever by a driver here in Chicagoland. We'll be back. Victory Circle coming up next here on TNT.